lovely friends, my lovely Papa Cubbas. We got new badges! Oh, dang it, the dang chat is small. Ugh. Everything's so tiny. Alright, that looks okay, right? Yeah. Yeah! Alright, that's better. The small curse that happened. Joel! Oh, you spelled Joel wrong. Maybe. Right? Oh, what the heck? The ad break. Joel? 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 What the? He should like it. I don't know why you wouldn't like it. Refresh. Joel. Imposter. What the heck? That's so weird. I don't know why. You get one good thing and you pay with another good thing, apparently. Extremely suspicious. Yeah. But yeah, good news, everybody. I got the new badges. I understand now, I think, why it took a little bit. They probably had a little more other commissions, and then when they sent these, they sent 3 sizes for each one, right? So it was like 20 different, 21 different files. Which, yeah, that's understandable. But look at how cute they are! Oh my god, they look so good. Ah. And you can really tell, like, I mean, I guess you could have tell last time. You could tell before if you were at a higher thing or not, but you're close to the next one too. Yeah! You'll get the one that Silver has. 2 hats. Oh wait, no. You'll get the ruffler. You'll get the ruffle. You get the hat and the ruffle. Yeah. Yeah. Joler. Sad. I don't know why he's being mean. I'm gonna blame it on the being small. The chat being small. Sorry I was a little late today, guys. I was napping on my bed and my cat came and sat on top of my face and I didn't want to move because I like it when she does that. She like turned over at one point and like put her paw on my face and I was like, wow, this is it. Because she's not a very like cuddly cat. She likes cuddling once in a blue moon, kind of. But yeah, usually she doesn't like to be put on like laps or like to be pet too hard. So when she does that, it's pretty important that I, bask in it. Take it all. All right. Oops. Have to take my phone out because we tried to get very much on his terms. Aw, yeah. I wish I had like I wish she was more lap cat, but I love her, so it is what it is. But we contacted the adoption process. We saw this cat the other day and he has like an extra toe. So we were like, let's just like try and go through the process to like visit the cat to see if maybe we want him. He's 5 months old and he has like an extra toe and the picture that they took, polydactyl cats are rare on the West Coast. Are they? Wait, really? Is that a real fact? You were a polydactyl cat once? Yes? Whoa, why? Cats. Meow. Silver, do you have any pets? I don't think I know if you have any pets or not. I wonder why. You have a dog? Oh, a big dog or a small dog? How was your Halloween, everybody? Yesterday, my sister sent me a picture of our dog, and she had like taken one of the decorations. It's like a severed arm, and she took the severed arm to her bed so she could like play with it. It was pretty funny. But I'd take care of her. Oh, but I'd take care of it. It doesn't need to be strictly yours. It can still be like, you know, you live in and exist within it. Within it. Yeah, he kind of the cat that we are looking at with his extra toe. He kind of looks like, you know, if you ask a kid to draw a cat, they do like the circle head and then the stick body. It looks like that. He looks like that. Do you wish you had a cat? You can get a cat one day. You'll get a cat one day. That's the best way I can describe him. I don't even know if I have a good picture of him. I don't even know if I have a picture of him. Yeah, I don't think I do. Can you send a picture of Toe Boy cat? I don't know if we're gonna get him or not. It's just kind of like we're gonna visit him and see what it's like. See if there's a connection. But Honey's been kind of bouncing about like a little bouncer. He is Toe Boy. Toe boy, I love a little toy boy, toe boy. No, Peachy, naughty. I spray you. I'll bonk you. I'll bonk you. With I don't have anything to bonk you with. Yeah, squeeze. Albert in spirit. Albert, I miss you. Albert. Where is he? Let's see. I might be able to find him. Meet your match. Where is he? Oh! Why does he look like that? He's so funny. Okay, guys, look. He looks like a scrungle. Like he's just... Albert in name only. Image. I'm calling this Scrungle. Even if we don't get him, I feel like he will prosper in life. Here he is. Look at his body. He looks so funny. He looks like he's like a little stick cat. And look at his toe. His toes. It almost looks like he has like 2 extra toes. Like he has like a hooven foot. And his like funny little scrungle body, and his like his ears look too big, his eyes. It looks like he's taken his picture's been taken like with a fish lens or something, so we can't really see the perspective of his body. But this is the only picture they provide us, so we don't know what else he looks like. Who stretched this cat? Oh, okay, if we end up getting him, I'm gonna suggest the name String Cheese. Okay? How about that? String Cheese. He looks like he's string cheese. Oh, look at his funny face. Oh, he's so strungly. Oh, look at that. His like little corner of his nose is pink. He's so funny. That's a top tier scrungle cat, if I do say so myself. What did they call him? What the heck? I don't want things from Phoenix, Arizona. Okay, let's see. Yes. Are there none? Adopt a pet near you. We know that you exist. Ways to adopt. Adopt. Yes. Yes. Cats. Oh, only the first 3 digits. Oh. The cats on this site are so funny. Like the way that they have this set up. There's one cat. Hello, hi, my name is Steve Harrington. Yeah? Sir Steve Hi, my name is Eddie Munson. What? They don't have pictures yet. Oh, this one's named Mishu. He's got a little face and his face is so scrungle. It's like he's dirty. Dirty boy. None of these cats have pictures. How do we know what they look like? Raggy Roo. Runt? They named this cat Runt! Stanley. Pollux. Chester. Carrot. Panini. Mungdal. Schnitzel. Robin. Chowder. Bird. Justice. Wubani. Yellow Jackal. Dot. Bonnie. Ada. Jaku. I like how some of these cats are named like not typical English names. Flip Flop, High Top, Trail Mix, Firecracker, Shibalaba, MJ, Smokey. Oh, Smokey. Nicholas, Sassafras, Harley, Marzipan, Zaro, Mama Mario? Mama Mario. Autumn. Aww. I'm getting distracted, guys. Hi, Numbers! Numbers code? I'm good, how are you? Sorry, I was busy looking at Toby. Phil, that's so smart. Don't be hating on my awful city. I'm not hating on it. I'm hating on the fact that the cats there are so far away from me. he pees on your laundry, you could call it the string cheese incident. True. Just like the touch. The cheese touch. Say so! Exclamation mark. Does say so work? What's that supposed to mean? I'm say so. What's that mean? Is there a toggle for say so? What would that be? Wow. Interesting. It tells you your say so. Oh, it just says I'm say so. Wait, what? Yours is 162? Like a rating? What's happening? That's wild. I don't know what that is. Oh well. Okay, guys, we're off to reading today. So, we're on chapter 5 of Warrior Cat Starlight. And it's like when you put, yeah, but like normally it doesn't, like I don't know what I would put in it, you know? Like we have exclamation mark bomb. And then that makes the little pop cubs throw a bomb. But I don't know what exclamation mark say so would be. Anyways, so what happened last time? See, look. Custom commands can be whack. Whack-a-doodle. So what do we got, guys? What do we got? We've got... So what happened last time? Previously on Warrior Cat Starlight, they just sent out a patrol to get a lay of the land. They kind of found places for every clan, it looked like. Yeah. That's kind of all what happened, isn't it? They got a lay of the land. They looked at different places. Leaf Paw and the other medicine cats were having a little chitter chatter. Mothwing said, "Is it really that important if we find like a moonstone?" And then everyone was like, "Huh?" And then she was like, "Never mind." Or Leaf Paw was like, "Well, it's not important that we get it like immediately, right? We can get it soon, but we don't. Well, we can still like our primary importance is to make sure every cat is okay." Is what Leaf Paw said to save Mothwing. And then they were thinking about different places where they could have a gathering spot. And Mothwing thought that this little island was a good gathering spot, but you had to swim to it, so it was kind of useless. I think... Oh, the last chapter ended because Brambleclaw and Hawkfrost had a conversation briefly. And Hawkfrost was actually kind of nice. And then Squirrelflight was like, "What are you doing talking to him? He can't be trusted." And then Brambleclaw's like, "Why can't he be trusted?" And then she's like, "Because he's like hungry for power." And then, oh yeah, Squirrelflight. So Squirrelpaw got her warrior name. Now she's Squirrelflight. That's something also that happened. But yeah, and then she was like, "Well, because he's like hungry for power and Leafpaw said so." And then Brambleclaw was like, "What? So do you think I'm going to be that way because of my dad and we have the same dad?" Then she's like, "No, what do you mean? I've already talked about this." And then he was like, And then she was like, "Whatever." And then she left. And that's where we ended the chapter. Boop, boop, boop. We're on page 122, which is very far. Sorry, I'm opening up a cookie. Guys, you know those like cookies you can get at like Walmart or like grocery stores, and they're like shortbread, but I think some places they're called soft sugar cookies, but some places call them fairy cakes, I think. They're so good. Oh. They're so yummy. Scrumptious. Okay, I took a nice bite. Oh, it's so hard not to eat like the entire thing. Okay, my treat after I finish every chapter is I get a bite. Except I'm going to take another bite right now because it was so good. It's very addictive. Also, guys, good news. I'm almost done unpacking all my boxes. I think I have 3 more boxes and then a bunch of stuffed animals. Which is nice. All right. A little mukbang to start. Chapter 5. When Brambleclaw had finished speaking and leaped down from the tree stump, Leafpaw looked around for Squirrelflight. She was dying to hear about their new territory and to know if her sister had found any useful herbs. She spotted Sorreltail and bounded over. "Have you seen Squirrelflight?" The tortoiseshell warrior shook her head. Leafpaw was about to keep looking when a sharp pang sliced through her like a claw. She caught her breath, tucking her nose against her chest to take away the pain. Something was wrong with Squirrelflight. Something was troubling her, but Leafpaw had no idea what it might be. The patrol had come home safely, and it sounded as if there were territories for all the clans around the lake. So why should Squirrelflight feel such a jolting mixture of shock and anger? "Are you okay?" Sorreltail asked. "What? Oh, yes, fine. I just need to ask Squirrelflight something." Leafpaw tried to speak calmly, but her voice shook. Luckily, there was so much noise around them that Sorreltail didn't seem to notice. "I'll help you look," she offered. "I can't wait to hear about our new home." Leafpaw nodded and began to weave her way through the other cats, searching for the familiar dark ginger pelt. She felt a rush of relief when she spotted her sister with some other ThunderClan cats, her tail waving animatedly as she explained something to them. There certainly didn't seem to be anything wrong now, but Leafpaw knew she hadn't mistaken the lightning strike of anger and dismay that had jolted through her. She padded over with Sorreltail beside her. "It's a stone hollow with walls all around," Squirrelflight was mewing. "There's plenty of space inside for dens, the nursery, even a training area." She was doing a great job of sounding normal, but as she drew closer, Leafpaw could feel waves of unhappiness coming from her. Squirrelflight's eyes were too wide, too bright, and she kept looking around as if she was trying to spot a cat who wasn't there. After a moment, Leafpaw realized that the missing cat must be Brambleclaw. She guessed he was talking to other members of the clan. "Is the hollow empty?" Dustpelt asked. He was sitting in front of Squirrelflight with Ferncloud at his side. Their one surviving kit, Birch Kit, was rolling around in the grass with Tall Poppy's 3 kits, far too excited to sleep. "It would be just like you, Squirrelflight, to expect us to camp in a badger set." Squirrelflight's tail curled up indignantly. "Dustpelt, I promise I'll eat any badgers you find there. Foxes too. We didn't send anything like that." Dustpelt grunted. I think it sounds great. Brightheart stepped up to Squirrelflight and pressed her muzzle against the younger warrior's side. How did you find it? I fell into it, Squirrelflight admitted. Cloudtail let out a snort of laughter. Why doesn't that surprise me? Now look. Squirrelflight spun around to face the white warrior, but before she could say any more, a yowl rose in the air. Cats of all clans! Leafbot turned to see that Cinderpelt had climbed onto the stump, the moonlight turning her gray fur silver. She signaled with her tail for silence, and the excited mewing gradually died away. Before we separate and go into our own territories, the ThunderClan medicine cat meowed, we must decide where we're going to hold the next gathering. StarClan will expect us to meet together when the full moon comes. But where? Asked Russet Fur, the ShadowClan deputy. Did the patrols find anywhere like 4 trees? Mistyfoot, who was sitting near the base of the stump, rose to her paws. No, she replied, raising her voice so that all the clans could hear her. Nowhere like that, but we didn't have time to explore everywhere properly. StarClan will show us a place, Little Cloud spoke up from where he was sitting beside Russet Fur and Blackstar. They might have shown us already. Mothwing sprang to her paws, her blue eyes shining. She began to describe the island close to the shore of the lake. It's safe, sheltered, and not too far away. Perfect for gatherings, she finished. But we'd have to swim to get everywhere. The protest came from Mousefur, a ThunderClan warrior. I'm not swimming in that lake every full moon, not if StarClan themselves come down and beg me. And what about the elders? Croaked Runnynose, the former ShadowClan medicine cat. A chorus of agreement rose up. Leafpaw glanced worriedly from one face to another. Even though she had her own doubts about gathering on the island, she couldn't think of a better option. But she didn't see a single cat who showed any enthusiasm for Mothwing's suggestion. Hawkfrost padded over to stand next to Mothwing. Dipping his head politely to Cinderpelt, he meowed. May I suggest that I take a patrol of RiverClan cats to explore the island more fully? If the clans can't use it for gatherings, it sounds like the ideal place for a RiverClan camp. Almost before he had finished speaking, Mistyfoot took a pace towards him. I already told you where RiverClan are going to camp, she mewed quietly, the fur on her neck bristling. There's a place where 2 streams meet, not far from the lake, with trees for shelter and no sign that 2 legs come near, even Greenleaf. But think how safe that island would be, Hawkfrost pointed out. We'd have a lake full of fish right outside our dens. Have you thought that your choice of camp might be too open? And that Thunderpath you mentioned can't be far away. Mistyfoot bristled. Are you questioning my judgment? I know what my clan needs. Hawkfrost curled his lips, and Leafpaw tensed, half expecting the 2 RiverClan warriors to leap at each other. Enough! The word, spat out, came from behind Leafpaw. She turned to see Leopardstar stalking up to her quarreling warriors. Do you want to shame RiverClan? Hawkfrost stepped back, and the fur on Mistyfoot's shoulders lay flat, though Leafpaw could tell it took some effort. Hawkfrost, you can take a patrol to the island if you wish, Leopardstar went on. We'll make a decision about where to site the camp when you get back. Of course, Leopardstar. Hawkfrost meowed, dipping his head. I'll pick some other cats and leave as soon as it gets light. He stepped back and was instantly surrounded by his clanmates, all clamoring to come with him to the island. Leafpaw shivered. It had been strange to see such an open challenge to Mistyfoot's authority. Hawkfrost must feel very confident of his place within the clan if he dared to pick a fight with his deputy in front of his leaders as well as the other clans. Leafpaw thought she could see the same concern in her mentor's blue eyes as Cinderpelt called for silence again. So, she meowed, where shall we meet for the next gathering? It's me! We'll have to come back here, Firestar decided, unless StarClan shows us a different place before the next full moon. Mudclaw turned to face Firestar. I don't think that's a good idea. We're much too close to that 2-leg nest on the other side of the horse place. It can't be helped, Blackstar replied, and Firestar nodded. We've been here for 2 days and nights now, and we haven't had so much as a sniff of two-leg. But if you have a better idea, let's hear it. Mudclaw lashed his tail. Suit yourself, he snarled. The great Firestar's world is law as always. Bro. That Mudclaw is the Wind Clan deputy. And he's saying that? Wow. The cats began to slip away from the tree stump, back into the shadows. Ferncloud signaled with her tail for Birchkit to come to her. It's time you got some sleep, little one. We have a long journey ahead of us tomorrow. Birchkit abandoned his play fight with Tall Poppy's kits and bounced over. Can Toadkit and Applekit and Marshkit come too? He asked. No. Oh, sorry. No, we belong to Shadow Clan, Tall Poppy explained gently. We have our own territory now. But that's not fair, Birchkit wailed, and all four kits clustered together, gazing at the two queens with huge, pleading eyes. If they can't come, I don't want to go. Leafpaw flinched. They were so innocent. They had no idea how different their lives had been from the lives of their older clanmates. Their earliest memories would be the horror of starving in the forest, every cat fearing for its life, until they found new friends when the clans came together for the exhausting trek through the mountains. They had no sense of clan rivalry, or the importance of being a warrior in service of one clan alone. They probably hardly knew where there were 4 clans at all. Don't be silly. Ferncloud patted over to her kit and gave his ears a sympathetic lick. That's the warrior code. When you're an apprentice, you'll meet again at gatherings. It won't be the same, Toadkit muttered, with a mutinous look at his mother. And there are no other ThunderClan kits for me to play with, Birchkit added sadly. Ferncloud and Tall Poppy looked at each other, and Leafpaw saw genuine regret in their eyes. It wasn't just their kits who had made strong friendship across clan boundaries. Finally, Tall Poppy dipped her head and gathered her 3 kits around her with a sweep of her tail. Say goodbye now, she mewed briskly. Goodbye, Toadkit and Marshkit chorused, while Applekit darted up to Birchkit and touched her nose to his. Goodbye. Birchkit stared after his friends as they padded away, and then turned to follow his mother, his tail drooping. Leafpaw felt her heart ache for the lonely kit, and for all the cats who would miss their friends they had made in other clans. A couple of tail lengths away she spotted Thornclaw, saying goodbye to Ashfoot and One Whisker from Wind Clan. He jumped guiltily when he saw Leafpaw watching, as if he felt like he had been disloyal to his clan by becoming friends with them. It's okay, Leafpaw meowed, patting over to touch noses with the ThunderClan warrior. It's hard to give up new friends like this. I'm one of the lucky ones, she thought gratefully. I can still be friends with Mothwing. Clan divisions weren't so important to medicine cats, especially where the other medicine cats were concerned. She decided to go ask Cinderpelt if there was anything she could do to help the cats prepare for tomorrow. As she wove her way through the other cats, she came across Crowfeather standing over a Wind Clan elder. A skinny tom with creamy brown fur, who was comfortably curled up in a nest of dry leaves underneath a tree. Look, Rushtail, Crowfeather was meowing frustratedly. Wind Clan is gathering further down the hill. If you stay here, you'll get mixed up with ThunderClan. So, ThunderClan never did me any harm, rasped the elder. I'm not moving a paw step from here, young fellow, until I've had something to eat. Crowfeather rolled his eyes. Great Star Clan. Can I help? Leafpaw offered, wondering if Rushtail was being stubborn or if he really felt too weak to move. She might be able to find some herbs that would help restore his strength, like the traveling herbs they used to eat before journeying to the Moonstones. But when Crowfeather turned around to face her, his eyes were cold. I don't need help from ThunderClan cats, thanks, he mewed curtly. I'm sorry. Leafpaw took a step back, struggling not to show how cross she was that he was refusing for help for no good reason. I only thought... Take it easy, Crowfeather. Leafpaw felt the light touch on her shoulder and glanced around to see Squirrelflight. There's no need to be so prickly, her sister added to the Wind Clan warrior. Crowfeather dug his claws agitatedly into the ground. Our journey's over, Squirrelflight, he meowed. We have to remember we belong to different clans now. Squirrelflight snorted. You're always a difficult furball, Crowfeather, but I won't stop you if you're determined to make everything harder than it needs to be. Just watch it if you want to talk to my sister, that's all. Crowfeather looked back at Leafpaw and muttered something that might have been an apology. But I can manage Rushtail on my own, thanks, he added. Just before she left, Leafpaw saw him bend over to the elder again. Rushtail, if I fetch you some fresh kill, will you move then? I might. The old Tom settled himself more comfortably and closed his eyes. As long as it's good and plump. Leafpaw, you comin'? Squirrelflight called. Leafpaw turned to see Sorreltail bounding over to her. Was that Crowfeather? She asked. His tongue's sharp as a fox's teeth. Is he giving you trouble? I'll sort him out for you. Her amber eyes gleamed with anticipation. No, he's fine. Leafpaw touched her friend's shoulder with the tip of her tail. Glancing back to where Crowfeather had disappeared in search of fresh kill, she knew that was not entirely true, but she could not think of any herb that would heal his broken heart. Thank you for the follow, Allie Bell! Chapter 6. Which, now that I think about it, I thought that this was the... Last time I stopped reading early because I thought that the next chapter was really, really long, but I must have just missed Chapter 6. Or, like, merged it together with Chapter 5. Wow. Well, oh well. Chapter 6. Brambleclaw shifted uneasily among the dead leaves. A branch was digging into his flank, but that was what had woken him. Oh, but that wasn't what had woken him. He couldn't get used to sleeping alone without the warmth of Squirrelflight's body beside him. He thought she had gone to sleep next to Ashfur, but he wasn't sure. She certainly wasn't anywhere near him. Oh, thank you, Allie Bell. I'm glad. I don't know if you know anything about warrior cats, but we're on the second series, fourth book? Second series, fourth book. You're cute, Emolga. I know that's a Pokemon, but I keep on saying it wrong. I know nothing about this. This is going to be so confusing for you, but it'll be really fun to try and figure it out, I think. They're all about warrior cats and different clans and stuff. Okay. There was another prod at his side. Brambleclaw looked up blearily to see that it wasn't a branch after all, but a paw. Barkface was standing over him. Where's Firestar? The Wind Clan Medicine Cat demanded. Brambleclaw scrambled up, yawning. Above his head, the sky was just beginning to grow light. Most of ThunderClan are over there, under the trees. Find him for me, will you? Barkface's voice sounded close to breaking. Tolstar is asking for him. Brambleclaw knew that the Wind Clan leader must be close to losing his last life. I'll fetch him, he promised. Thanks. We're going under that gorse bush over there. Barkface pointed with his tail. I've got to find one Whisker. He dashed off. Brambleclaw bounded towards the nearest ThunderClan warrior. Tolstar was the eldest of the leaders, and his death would be a great loss for all four clans, not just Wind Clan. For a few heartbeats, he despaired of finding Firestar in the dim pre-dawn light, but then he spotted him sharing tongues with Sandstorm near a tree stump. Firestar, Barkface says Tolstar wants to see you. Brambleclaw meowed as he raced up to them. Firestar stiffened and exchanged a glance with Sandstorm. I'll come at once, he replied. Does Barkface need any help? Sandstorm asked. Cinderpelt was here a moment ago. Tell Barkface to send a cat with a message if he wants her. Brambleclaw nodded and followed Firestar across the open ground to the gorse bush where Tolstar lay dying. Its outer branches swept the ground, and there was no sign of any cats at first. But as Brambleclaw approached, he heard the sound of harsh, uneven breathing. Ducking down, he peered through a gap to see Tolstar stretched out on his side in a nest of dead leaves. Firestar's here, he meowed, stepping back to let his leader enter the makeshift den. I'll wait outside, he added to Firestar. Is that Brambleclaw? Tolstar's voice came weakly from beneath the bush. Don't go.
You should hear what I have to say, too.
Brambleclaw glanced hesitantly at Firestar, and when his leader nodded, he flattened himself against the ground to creep under the low branches beside him. Tallstar was alone. Barkface hadn't come back yet with One Whisker. The WindClan leader's chest heaved as he fought for breath, and Brambleclaw winced at the effort it cost him to raise his head. But in the faint moonlight that filtered through the branches, Tallstar's eyes shone with the light of StarClan.
Firestar, I must thank you, he rasped. You have saved my clan.
Firestar gave a murmur of protest.
And Brambleclaw,
Tallstar went on,
you journeyed a long way to find this place for us, facing dangers no cat has seen before. Even Greystripe, may he walk with StarClan, would agree with you to make a worthy deputy for ThunderClan.
Brambleclaw gasped. He didn't dare look at his leader, who stiffened beside him. He knew that Firestar had never stopped grieving for Greystripe and clung to the belief that his friend was still alive. He had refused to name another deputy so far, even though it seemed extremely unlikely that Greystripe would escape from the two-legs who had taken him away from the forest. Ambition gripped Brambleclaw like an eagle's talon. Hard as it was to admit it, he knew that he wanted to be deputy and then leader of this clan. Was this what Tigerstar had felt? He wondered. His father's hunger for power had been so strong that he was prepared to lie and murder and betray to achieve it. But I could never do that, Brambleclaw thought. If he became deputy, it would be through loyalty to his clan, hard work, and respect for the warrior code. But Tigerstar's dark heritage would always be with him, overshadowing all that he tried to do. They look at me and see Tigerstar. He recovered himself in time to dip his head to Tallstar and murmur, "It wasn't just me. It was all of us together." "You're tying yourself, Tallstar." Firestar's voice was gentle. "You need to rest."
"Rest will do me no good now,"
the WindClan leader meowed. Firestar did not try to pretend that there was any hope he would get better. "You'll be a noble addition to the ranks of StarClan," he told him. He would crouch down so he could press his muzzle to Tallstar's. Before then, I must say..." Tallstar started to choke, and his paws scrabbled in the dry leaves. "Brambleclaw, find Barkface," Firestar ordered.
"No."
Tallstar managed to catch his breath again and signaled with his tail for Brambleclaw to stay.
"Nothing any medicine cat can do for me now."
His eyes looked half-closed and took several gasping breaths before continuing.
"There's something important I have to say. Where's One Whisker?"
Firestar glanced at Brambleclaw, who shook his head. "Barkface went to go get him," he meowed. "I'll go look too."
"Quickly,"
Tallstar rasped as Brambleclaw backed out.
"Tell them that it is time."
When Brambleclaw straightened up and looked around, the dawn light was strengthening, but he still couldn't see any more than dark shapes and the occasional blur of a pale-colored pelt. Most cats were still sleeping in hastily flattened dens among the long grass, roughly divided among the 4 clans. He was trying to work out which of the shadowy groups was WindClan when he spotted a solitary cat racing up from the direction of the lake. To his relief, he recognized One Whisker. "Barkface says Tallstar's dying," the WindClan warrior gasped as he halted beside the bush, dropping his mouthful of dripping moss. "I only went to the lake to get him a drink." "He wants to see you," Brambleclaw meowed. One Whisker slid under the branches into Tallstar's den, and Brambleclaw followed him in time to see the warrior place the moss beside Tallstar's head. The dying leader feebly licked up a few drops, then raised his head again.
"Before I go to StarClan, there is something I must do."
His voice was stronger now.
"Firestar, One Whisker, listen. Mudclaw is a brave warrior, but he is not the right cat to lead WindClan. In these last moons, we have learned that the future of our clan lies in friendship. I want no rivalry between WindClan and ThunderClan after I am gone. We must have no enemies, but this will not happen if Mudclaw rules this clan."
Brambleclaw saw Firestar exchange a glance with One Whisker. Both cats seemed uncomfortably aware that Tallstar's ideal of lasting friendship wouldn't happen, whoever was in charge of the clan. It was natural for clans to be rivals. It was part of the warrior code.
I can still choose the cat who will lead WindClan after me,
Tallstar rasped.
From this moment, Mudclaw is no longer deputy of WindClan. Ho!
3 pairs of eyes stared at him in astonishment.
I say these words before StarClan,
Tallstar gasped out.
WindClan must have a new deputy. One Whisker, you must lead the clan when I am gone.
Brambleclaw and Firestar exchanged a swift, startled glance. These were not the right words to choose a deputy, even though it was clearly what Tallstar intended. Brambleclaw felt an icy tingle in his fur. Would StarClan accept One Whisker as the leader of WindClan if he had not been appointed as deputy the way demanded by the warrior code? He opened his mouth to say something, but closed it again when he caught sight of the expression on his leader's face. Firestar seemed even more shocked than Brambleclaw, his neck fur bristling and his claws digging into the ground, but he said nothing. Tallstar, no! One Whisker sounded horrified, but Tallstar took no notice. His glittering, star-filled gaze traveled from his new deputy to Firestar, and then to Brambleclaw.
I am grateful to have brought the clan this far, he murmured. One Whisker, treat our friends well when you lead our clan. Remember everything ThunderClan has done for us.
Tallstar, I'll do my best, but... One Whisker stretched out a paw to touch his leader's shoulder, but Tallstar's head slipped down into the leaves. His eyes closed, and his breathing became quick and shallow. Brambleclaw felt a faint breeze touch his fur, and heard the murmur of paw steps. Something brushed his pelt, and he thought he saw Starlight reflected for a moment in Firestar's eyes. It suddenly felt as if the tiny den was packed full, with sleek furred flanks sweeping against him on every side. Brambleclaw jumped at a scuffling sound behind him, and in a heartbeat the den was empty once more. He turned to see Barkface squeezing under the branches. Dropping a packet of leaf-wrapped herbs beside Tallstar, he meowed. Cinderpelt gave me these. He broke off, staring at his leader. It's too late for herbs, Firestar mewed quietly. One Whisker crouched down and pushed his nose into Tallstar's fur. The WindClan leader's black and white flank had stopped rising and falling now, stilled forever with the departure of Tallstar's spirit. He walks with StarClan now, Barkface murmured. Brambleclaw felt his throat swell with grief. Tallstar had not been his leader, but he had been a noble cat, and nothing would be the same now that he was dead. After a few moments, Firestar curled his tail to touch One Whisker on the shoulder. One Whisker, you need to tell your clan. Remember what Tallstar said. He appointed you deputy, and he wants you to be leader now. One Whisker raised his head, his eyes filled with chaos of grief and confusion. Firestar, I can't do this, he pleaded. I can't take over as leader. More hesitantly, he asked, do we have to tell them what he said? I know that wasn't the right way to choose a new deputy. Tallstar was dying. He couldn't think clearly. Tallstar knew exactly what he wanted, whether he used the right words or not. Firestar told him firmly, though his eyes were more sympathetic. He wanted you to be deputy instead of Mudclaw, and he wanted you to succeed him as clan leader. Would you betray his trust and the honor he has given you? Brambleclaw saw Barkface's eyes stretch wide, and he remembered that the medicine cat had not arrived until after Tallstar had finished speaking. He said what? Barkface demanded. When Firestar explained, the medicine cat looked troubled. I can understand what he said was a shock, he mewed to One Whisker, but you can't do anything about it. If that's what Tallstar wanted, it means you're the clan leader and in the sight of StarClan. Do you think they would give 9 lives to Mudclaw now, knowing that Tallstar changed his mind? Mudclaw! One Whisker stared at the other cats in dismay. What am I supposed to say to him? Firestar pressed reassuringly against his side. If you like, I'll make the announcement to the clans while you figure out what to say to individual cats. One Whisker's eyes flooded with relief. Would you, Firestar? Thanks. Okay, let's take this minute to 15 plus, baby.
Firestar nodded, but Brambleclaw felt a flicker of unease. He knew that two cats had been friends for long before Firestar became leader. But surely this was a time when One Whisker should be acting on his own, however hard it was. There was going to be enough shock from Wind Clan without suggesting that Firestar, a cat from a completely different clan, had been involved. The ThunderClan leader pushed his way out through the branches. BrambleClaw and the others followed as Firestar padded across and leaped up to the stump on the edge of the deserted clearing. One Whisker was about to sit among the roots when Firestar gestured with his tail to a spot beside him. "You should be up here," he meowed. "What is your clan going to think if you sit down there like an ordinary warrior?" Brambleclaw could see exactly what Firestar meant, and he fought down a prickle of impatience. It was time One Whisker got over his shock and started behaving like a leader. "Go on." "Oh, go on," he urged.
Come on, dude. His leader just died. His buddy just bit the dust and appointed him as deputy as he bit the dust. That's a lot. That's a lot to take in. Holy macaroni.
One Whisker gave him a doubtful look, then jumped up to stand beside Firestar. The ThunderClan leader let out a yowl. "Cats of all clans, gather to hear the news I have to tell you." All around the clearing, Brambleclaw watched the cats stir in their makeshift nests, like a ripple in the long grass when wind passed over it. From close by, he heard some cat murmur crossly, "What does he want now?" Firestar repeated his yowl until one by one the cats slipped out of their makeshift dens and crept forward until they surrounded the stump. Squirrelflight padded sleepily over to Brambleclaw, her jaws gaping in a huge yawn.
What's happening? What does Firestar want?
"It's best you hear it from Firestar," Brambleclaw meowed. He couldn't begin to put into words what had happened before Tallstar lost his 9th life. Too late, he remembered his quarrel with Squirrelflight. She obviously hadn't forgotten, however, and interrupted his guarded response's reluctance to speak to her at all. "Fine," she mewed. She glanced coolly at him, then patted a couple tail lengths away before sitting down. "Cats of all clans, I have some very sad news," Firestar began. "Tallstar has gone to hunt with StarClan." "Tallstar's dead!" exclaimed Tornir. "He became leader before I was born." Oh, sorry, this is a kid. Wait.
Is it? It sounds like an old elder, though.
"What will happen to Wind Clan without him?" Beside him, his apprentice, Owlpaw, bowed his head, too overcome to speak. Mosspelt, a River Clan queen, touched the young cat on his shoulder with the tip of her tail. "He was a noble cat," she murmured. "He will be welcomed by StarClan and walk with the best of them." From somewhere near the back, a single voice rose up in a wail of grief. Brambleclaw echoed it in his heart. "I was there when he died," Firestar went on with a glance at Brambleclaw, and he said... He broke off as a molted brown warrior thrust his way forward and halted at the foot of the stump. "What's that?" he demanded, his eyes flashing in anger. "Tallstar's dead? Why did no cat tell me?" It was Mudclaw. Dun da da dun da da dun. Imagine not finding out your leader died, and then also finding out that in his dying moments, he ripped your deputyship away from you.
Also, like, why wouldn't Tallstar, like, have Mudclaw be there while he did that? Because otherwise, there's no way that, like, Mudclaw can just easily say, like, "Yo, you're lying, bruh." But, like, still. That's weird. Chapter 7.
Firestar looked calmly down at the Wind Clan warrior. "Tallstar died just a few moments ago," he meowed. "There's been no chance to tell any cat." "Mudclaw, you're our leader now," meowed Webfoot. "We will all grieve for Tallstar, but we need you to help us settle in our new home."
A murmur of agreement came. Oh, yikes, awkward. A murmur of agreement came from his clanmates. Mudclaw dipped his head in acknowledgement, but when he turned back to Firestar, his eyes still gleamed with fury. You should have come find me before calling this meeting. Why should a ThunderClan cat announce WindClan's news? Firestar's tail tip twitched. Tallstar wanted it to be this way. Listen to what I'm trying to tell you, please. Addressing all the cats, not just Mudclaw, he went on. Just before he died, Tallstar made One Whisker his deputy. His gaze swept over Brambleclaw, but he didn't meet the warrior's eyes. Brambleclaw's fur prickled. Was Firestar really willing to ignore the fact that Tallstar hadn't used the right ceremony to appoint his new deputy? What? Mudclaw screeched in disbelief. You mean Mudclaw isn't our leader? Webfoot queried. He unsheathed his claws in confusion and sank them into the ground. Mouse done to that! A black WindClan she-cat drew her lips back in a snarl. There's no cat better able to lead the clan. Brambleclaw listened uncomfortably. If it were up to him, he thought One Whisker would make a better leader than Mudclaw, but he didn't have the right to judge. And he could imagine exactly how Mudclaw must be feeling, to have the leadership he had been waiting for snatched out of his paws in a heartbeat. One Whisker looked down at Mudclaw. This is as much as a shock to me as it is to you, he meowed. And I would like you to carry on being WindClan's deputy. I'll need your support and experience every paw step of the way. Mudclaw's neck fur bristled. You don't think I believe this load of fox dung, do you? He spat. Every cat knows that Tallstar practically handed our clan over to Firestar before he left the forest. He's always felt more loyal to ThunderClan than they ever deserved. And now Firestar tells us that his friend One Whisker is to be leader? Did any other cat witness this convenient change of mind? His paws heavy as stone, Mudclaw padded forward until he stood beside Mudclaw. I did. The words stuck in his throat like a tough bit of fresh kill. I was there. I heard Tallstar make One Whisker his deputy. He almost added, but he didn't use the right words. But he stopped himself. Firestar had said nothing about that. The clearing and the tree stump faded away, and Brambleclaw was back in the ravine, an apprentice of less than 7 moons, grudgingly searching the elders' pets for ticks. All the apprentices hated this duty, but sometimes it was made bearable by the chance to listen to the stories about the old days in ThunderClan, before the apprentices were even born. As Brambleclaw fixed his teeth gingerly around a tick at the base of One Eye's tail, he could hear the old cat talking to Dappletail about when Bluestar appointed Firestar, then called Fireheart, to be her deputy. The former deputy, Tigerclaw, had been revealed as a traitor who had been plotting to kill his clan leader, and Brambleclaw's fur had crawled even then to hear his father spoken of in dark, grim tones. There's a Discord, yes. Thank you so much, Peachy. See you later, Allie Bell. Where was I? Tigerclaw had been chased out of camp, and Bluestar had appointed Firestar in his place, but she had been so distressed by Tigerclaw's treachery that she had delayed the ceremony until long after Moon High, which was the time limit set down by the warrior code. Several cats in the clan, even those who liked and respected the flame-colored warrior, had gave doubts about his right to be called deputy, and it had been many moons before Fireheart had proved himself worthy of taking Tigerclaw's place. Brambleclaw shook his head, jolting himself back to the copse on the lake shore. His blood thickened icily in his veins. There had been something wrong with Firestar's deputy ceremony, just like One Whisker's. No wonder the ThunderClan leader wanted to defend One Whisker when doubts were cast on his right to lead the clan. If Firestar had ever had doubts about his own position as deputy, he had kept them to himself. He obviously believed One Whisker should do the same. Mudclaw narrowed his eyes at Brambleclaw. You were there too, were you? Another ThunderClan cat? What a surprise! What did Firestar offer you if you backed him up? Did he promise to make you deputy of ThunderClan? Any temptation to blurt out the truth vanished in an instant, as Brambleclaw struggled with the urge to leap on the WindClan warrior's back and claw his fur off. Just managing to stay where he was, he glanced up at Firestar and saw cold fury in his leader's green gaze. How dare you doubt my word, or my warriors, Firestar hissed at Mudclaws. Tallstar's decision was made in the sight of StarClan. How do you know? Mudclaw challenged. Are you a medicine cat all of a sudden? His decision was clear enough, Firestar spat back. Mudclaw spun around to face his clanmates. Are you gonna sit here and accept this? He demanded. Do we let ThunderClan choose our leader for us? Whooping around to glare at One Whisker again, he added, How many of our warriors do you think will follow you, you sniveling, crow food-eating traitor? What the... Before One Whisker had time to reply, Crowfeather padded forward and stood at the edge of the tree stump. His fur was ruffled and his eyes stunned with grief, but when he spoke, his voice was calm. I will follow One Whisker. I made the journey to the sun-drowned place with Brambleclaw, and I know he does not lie. If he says that Tallstar made One Whisker deputy before he went to hunt with StarClan, then I believe him. Raising his head to meet One Whisker's gaze, he meowed, One Star, I greet you as the leader of my clan. Oh! Crowfeather! More voices came from WindClan. Yes, 1 star, 1 star! But others sounded uncertain or openly defiant, and Brambleclaw could see it wasn't going to be easy for One Whisker to believe in his right to lead his clan. He spotted Black Star and Leopard Star at the edge of the crowd, exchanging a glance of amused satisfaction. They weren't disappointed to see Quarrels and WindClan, that was for sure. One Whisker dipped his head toward Crowfeather. Thank you, he mewed. But don't call me 1 star yet, he begged. I haven't received my name or my 9 lives from StarClan. His ears flattened with embarrassment, and Brambleclaw guessed he was afraid he would never be approved by StarClan because of the way in which he had become WindClan's deputy. And you never will, Mudclaw snarled, as if he could read One Whisker's most hidden thoughts. You are not our leader. Come down here and fight me if you dare. Then we'll see who'll make the better leader for WindClan. One Whisker gathered his hunches under him, ready to leap down and meet Mudclaw's challenge, but Firestar raised his tail to stop him. Brambleclaw braced himself to intercept Mudclaw if he launched himself onto the tree stump. Stop! An outraged cry came from Barkface. Sheath your claws, Mudclaw, he told the WindClan deputy. Clan leaders have never been chosen by fighting. And do you want to start a fight with Tallstar's spirit watching over us? We should be sitting in vigil for him, not bickering over who will take his place. You betray him by behaving like this. He always expected the best from his senior warriors. He paused, with a long glance at Firestar, and then added, I believe what the ThunderClan cats tell us. This was Tallstar's choice, and you must accept it. With a visible effort, Mudclaw flattened his neck fur and sheathed his claws. Very well, he growled. He looked up at One Whisker, and the hatred in his eyes was like poison. You're brave enough standing there with your ThunderClan friends to back you up, but if you think I'll serve you as your deputy, you're wrong. One Whisker dipped his head. Very well, he meowed. I'm sorry if that's your decision. Mudclaw's only reply was to spit. Then he turned away to follow Barkface and some of the other WindClan warriors as they went to bring out Tallstar's body for the vigil. One Whisker. Firestar mewed quietly. You have to appoint another deputy. Now. You can't lead this clan alone, and you will need all the support you can get if Mudclaw decides to make things difficult. For a moment, Brambleclaw wondered if he would choose Crowfeather, who was watching the leaders closely. But Crowfeather had been made a warrior too recently, and besides, he carried the taint of being friendly with ThunderClan, thanks to the journey that he had made with Brambleclaw and Squirrelflight. One Whisker needed an experienced warrior who was trusted by WindClan, but not too popular with the cats in other clans, a choice that every cat would approve, perhaps even Mudclaw. One Whisker closed his eyes to think. Then he opened them again and looked down at his clanmates. I say these words before the spirit of Tallstar and the spirits of all StarClan, and that they may hear and approve my choice. Brambleclaw found himself letting out a sigh of relief that the correct words were being used this time. Ashfoot will be the new deputy of WindClan. Brambleclaw wasn't even sure that he knew who Ashfoot was. Then he saw a gray she-cat standing with a look of utter shock on her broad face. Crowfeather bounded over to her and pressed his muzzle to hers. while the other Wind Clan cats called out, Ash foot! Ash foot! Brambleclaw suddenly remembered that she was Crowfeather's mother. Aww! He had seen her once or twice before at gatherings, though he hadn't spoken to her. She was obviously a popular choice among her clanmates. Brambleclaw narrowed his eyes. One Whisker had made a wise decision, just as he hoped. One Whisker leaped down from the stump, and Firestar followed. Ashfoot came forward to touch noses with her leader. Thank you, One Whisker, she meowed. I'll do my best. I never imagined... I know. One Whisker interrupted, giving her ear a quick lick. That's one reason I chose you. I don't want a cat who thinks she deserves power. I want a cat who will help me make our clan strong again when we reach our new home. Ashfoot let out a purr. Then that is what I will do. Aww. Turning to Firestar, One Whisker meowed. Thanks, Firestar. I'm sorry that was so difficult. I never thought Mudclaw would accuse you of lying. Firestar shrugged. I wasn't surprised. Mudclaw had taken on many leadership duties before Tallstar died. It must have been a shock for him to learn he wasn't going to be leader after all. But at least you seem to have most of the clan behind you now. I'm used to it. One Whisker nodded, but a flicker of anxiety crept into his expression. How will I get my name and my 9 lives from StarClan, Firestar? There's no moonstone here. Do you think I should take some of my warriors and go back through the mountains to Highstones? Firestar twitched his tail. I think that's the mouse-brain thing you could do. The journey there and back would take nearly a moon, and Mudclaw wouldn't be sitting on his paws doing nothing while you were away, that's for sure. Hi, Kenzie! He flicked his ears towards the cats who had brought Tallstar's body into the clearing. Mudclaw was sitting a little ways away from them, staring at One Whisker with an ominous look in his eyes. Brambleclaw felt his belly twist. The new Wind Clan leader must be more than mouse-brained if he thought the problems with Mudclaw were over. You're right, One Whisker sighed. This isn't the time to leave the clan. But we'll have to find some way of sharing tongues with StarClan, won't we? There must be a moonstone close by, Ashfoot meowed with sturdy common sense. StarClan wouldn't have brought us here otherwise. We'll find it as quickly as we can, and until we do, your clan's loyalty will have to be enough to keep you as our leader. One Whisker still looked troubled, and Brambleclaw could understand why. It wasn't just with Mudclaw. Webfoot and Nightcloud clearly weren't happy with the change of leadership either, and there might be others. One Whisker's leadership wouldn't be completely safe until he had his 9 lives and his new name. And would StarClan grant them to him when Tallstar had not followed the age-old ceremony in appointing him deputy? We can't do any more now, the Wind Clan cat meowed wearily. Though dawn is already here, we must sit vigil for Tallstar. He led the way across the clearing and crouched beside the unmoving black and white shape, pushing his nose into Tallstar's cold fur. Ashfoot and Crowfeather settled down on each side of him, as if they wanted to shelter him while he grieved for his dead leader. Their grief must be even greater, Brambleclaw knew, because they could not sit vigil for a whole night. Soon the clans would move off to their new homes. His mind whirled, and for a moment he felt as if the entire warrior code were tumbling around him, shattered under the pressure of moving to their new home. One Whisker chose wisely in making Ashfoot his deputy, Firestar remarked, jolting Brambleclaw back from his troubled thoughts. Brambleclaw knew he was right, but it felt as if he had a prey bone stuck in his throat, and he couldn't say anything on reply. What was there to say when Firestar had refused to make a similar choice for ThunderClan? He swallowed hard, searching for words that would express his respect for Firestar's friendship with Greystripe, while making it clear that he didn't believe ThunderClan could survive without a deputy forever. Firestar turned his green gaze on him and seemed to guess what he was thinking. We have no proof that Greystripe is dead. And if he isn't, then one day he'll return to ThunderClan. How can I appoint another cat in his place? RiverClan appointed Hawkfrost as deputy when Mistyfoot went missing, Brambleclaw ventured. Firestar's eyes narrowed. That was different. When Mistyfoot disappeared, no cat knew what had happened to her, but it seemed impossible that she could still be alive. But now we know Two Legs trapped the cats that went missing. If they wanted them dead, they would have killed them right away, but they didn't. Greystripe is being held prisoner somewhere, and sooner or later he'll escape and come back to us. His claws scraped against the ground, leaving deep scratches in the dirt. I won't give up hope until I've seen his body with my own eyes.
Is it me you're trying to convince, he wondered, or Brambleclaw wondered bleakly, or yourself? Without another word, Firestar turned and headed towards the cats who had gathered around Tallstar's body. Brambleclaw watched him with guilt and frustration churning in his belly. He wanted to be deputy. And what was so dreadful about that? Remember Tigerstar, a small voice whispered in his ear, and every hair on Brambleclaw's pelt prickled with horror. I'm nothing like Tigerstar. I'm a loyal warrior. I've worked hard and risked my life for my clan. No cat could say I didn't deserve to be deputy. You saw Squirrel Flight slip silently out of the shadows and touch noses with her father, then settle down by his side, just outside the circle of grieving WindClan cats, their flame-colored pelts mingling together. A pang of envy shook Brambleclaw, sharp as a winter wind. He had quarreled with Squirrel Flight over Hawkfrost, and his sister Tawny Pelt belonged to another clan. He didn't have any cat to share that uncomplicated affection that Squirrel Flight had with Firestar. How many times do I have to prove myself? He wondered desperately. What do you mean? Your mom is still alive. Brambleclaw, your mom is literally still alive. He wondered desperately. Hawkfrost didn't seem to have the same trouble in RiverClan, even though Tigerstar was his father too. Brambleclaw felt a sudden desire to seek him out and talk to him, but with the clans on the brink of going their separate ways, he knew that moment was past. Brambleclaw wanted to be deputy so much that it hurt. Why couldn't Firestar and Squirrel Flight trust him? He shut his eyes, his claws sinking into the ground as a wave of hunger swept blackly over him, turning his blood to ice. Uh-oh. That was a hydrate from Emolga. Canadian style. Maybe it's the way that I pronounce some words. I don't know. Chapter 8. Leafpaw crouched not far from Tallstar's body, watching the cats who came to keep vigil for their dead leader. Daylight spread steadily from beyond the ridge of hills, revealing a gray sky with clouds hanging low over the trees. A damp, chilly wind blew from the lake and made the branches rattle together like mouse bones. The dead leader's body looked grim and stark. Leafpaw shivered. It felt very strange to be sitting in vigil in the cold light of the morning. Usually the ceremony was carried out at night, when the unmoving shape would be muffled by shadows as comforting as soft black fur. Glancing away from Tallstar's body, Leafpaw let her thoughts wander. Anxiety gnawed at her, sharp as a fox's fang. One Whisker couldn't go all the way back to Moonstone to receive his name and his 9 lives from StarClan. He was too tired to make the long journey twice over again, and it was obvious Mudclaw would seize upon his absence to make trouble. But what would happen to the clans if their leader didn't share tongues with StarClan? The warrior code would fade away like mist in sunshine, and they would be nothing more than rogues. StarClan must guide us, she mewed out loud. Cinderbelt glanced around from where she was talking to Barkface. Leafpaw, what's the matter? She patted over, looking concerned. Leafpaw shook her head. Sorry I disturbed you, Cinderbelt. I was just thinking about One Whisker. What's he gonna do if he can't go to Highstones? Cinderbelt stretched out her tail and touched Leafpaw gently on the head. Don't worry, she reassured her. StarClan will show us a place to share tongues with them. But when? Leafpaw gazed into her mentor's blue eyes. One Whisker needs his name and his 9 lives now. Leafpaw, be patient. StarClan can't be hurried. There'll be an answer, you'll see. And meanwhile, she added, more briskly, you could be doing something useful instead of worrying. Look, Mothwing has the right idea. She's fetching water for all the kits and elders. On the other side of the clearing, the RiverClan medicine cat was padding towards a group of WindClan cats, her mouth filled with dripping moss. Leafpaw realized with a guilty pang that she had done nothing except fret over things she could not help. Sorry, Cinderpelt, she meowed, getting to her paws. I'll go and fetch some moss too. Cinderpelt nodded. You'll feel better if you're busy. Leafpaw headed for the lake, but she had barely left the copse of trees when she spotted several cats bounding up the slope. Their pelts were slick with lake water, and Leafpaw recognized Hawkfrost in the lead. It was the RiverClan patrol that had gone to explore the island as soon as the first streaks of dawn had appeared. Curious, she turned back and followed them into the center of the clearing.
Hawkfrost leaped onto a tree stump and let out a yowl to summon all clats to listen to him. Leafpaw wondered if he should have done that. What's he playing at? The stump's for the leaders, just like the Great Rock Bet 4 trees. Sorreltail echoed Leafpaw's thoughts as she trotted over to join her friend. Hawkfrost isn't even a deputy anymore. But no cat challenged the River Clan warrior. Instead, the cats gathered quickly to hear Hawkfrost's news. Well, Leopardstar prompted, did you make it to the island? What did you find? Everything we could ever hope for, Hawkfrost declared. I can't imagine a better place for a camp. StarClan must have had it in mind when they brought us here. There's a lake to fish in, trees for shelter, and it's safe from predators, or anything else that might attack us, he added, his eyes flashing towards the rival clans. Several mews of agreement came from the River Clan warriors, and Blackclaw called out, Well done, Hawkfrost! The tabby warrior dipped his head. I'm only trying to do what's best for the clan, he replied. Leafpaw was surprised to hear aloud, Huh? Coming from just behind her. She glanced over her shoulder to see Squirrelflight glaring at Hawkfrost with unmistakable hostility. Quietly, Leafpaw wriggled backwards until she reached her sister. What's the matter? I don't trust him, Squirrelflight muttered, not taking her eyes from the River Clan warrior. Me neither, Leafpaw meowed. She thought back to the day in the forest when Sorreltail had accidentally crossed the River Clan border while chasing a squirrel. Hawkfrost had caught her, and only Mothwing's warning about making trouble between the clans had made him let her go. He had made his ambitions perfectly clear then, even hinting that River Clan might move to ThunderClan territory while they were weak from lack of prey. Leafpaw and Sorreltail had decided not to say anything about the incident to Firestar and their clanmates. Sorreltail didn't want to confess that she had crossed the border, and she pointed out that any ambitious young warrior might have dreams of taking over another clan's hunting grounds. Leafpaw had wished she could dismiss Hawkfrost's greed for territory and power quite so lightly. I knew you didn't trust him, Squirrelflight mewed quietly. I could tell all along. I'm glad some cat agrees with me. Mistyfoot padded to the foot of the tree stump, her tail tip twitching. Hawkfrost! I've already told you what a mouse-brained idea it is to camp on the island. Warriors can swim over there, yes, but what about kits and elders? And what if something happens to the fish in the lake? We'll never be able to carry fresh kill across from shore. Hawkfrost looked straight past her and meowed. Leopardstar, what do you think? The River Clan leader hesitated before replying. What you say is true, Hawkfrost, she meowed at last. The island would be easier to defend than any camp on land, but Mistyfoot's right as well. We can't make our home something that kits and elders would struggle to reach, and our isolation would make us vulnerable as well as safe. We will camp in the place she found. Yo! Leafpaw braced herself for an explosion of anger from Hawkfrost, but it never came. Instead, he dipped his head to Leopardstar and leaped down from the stump. Good! Squirrelflight sounded satisfied. Be fair, Leafpaw warned. You can't blame him for wanting to find a safe home for his clan. Squirrelflight let out a snort of disgust. That's the last thing he was trying to do. He just wanted to challenge Mistyfoot. If I were her, I'd watch my tail. And don't tell me you don't agree, she added, because I won't believe you. I know, Leafpaw admitted. All the same, he hasn't done anything yet. Squirrelflight narrowed her eyes. Just give him time, she meowed darkly. Worn out by the day's early start, Leafpaw dozed, stirring only when she felt a tail tip brush against her ear. Blinking, she looked up to see Cinderpelt. I'm gonna go help take Tallstar's body away for burial, her mentor meowed. Firestar's getting ready to leave now. Leafpaw scrambled up, shaking scraps of dead leaf from her pelt. Sorry, Cinderpelt, she stammered. Why didn't you wake me sooner? You needed the sleep, Cinderpelt murmured. By now the clouds had thinned to reveal a pale yellow sun. Cats were gathered around Firestar near the tree stump. Breakenfur was leading Longtail with his tail draped over the blind cat's shoulder, while Ferncloud gently scolded Birchkit, who was bouncing around and getting under every cat's paws. Excitement surged from Leafpaw, and she was instantly wide awake. They were about to see their new home. Is there anything I can do to help? She asked. Yes, please. I'd like you to make a quick trip to the marshy place to collect some more horsetail. We might not get another chance for a while. Leafpaw nodded. Sure. but may I find Mothwing first? I want to say goodbye. You'll see her again at gatherings, Cinderpelt pointed out, then added gently, Okay, but don't be long. Leafpaw darted away. To her relief, she spotted Mothwing almost at once, padding through the trees with another mouthful of soaked moss. She must have watered every kitten and elder in all 4 clans by now, Leafpaw realized guiltily. Hey, Mothwing, she mewed. She stopped, wrinkling her nose at the pungent smell that came from her friend's fur. Amusement lit Mothwing's blue eyes. Moss vile, she mewed ruefully. Heavyset insisted I sorted out his ticks before I did anything else this morning, since I've been so busy fetching water and I haven't had time to wash off. To be honest, I've gotten used to the smell by now. I'm sorry. Leafpaw felt worse than ever. I should have come to help you. Mothwing shrugged. Doesn't matter. I'm nearly finished. Do you want some water for your elders? She pushed the soaked moss across the ground towards Leafpaw. Thanks, she mewed, wondering if she had time to take some to Longtail before she fetched the horsetail. She bent down to pick up the moss, but straying back when a strong scent filled her mouth and nose, an odd, sour odor that reminded her of crow food. She straightened up and swiped her tongue over her lips. What's the matter? Mothwing asked. I'm not sure. It smells a bit strange, that's all. Where did you get it? There's a pool over there. Mothwing gestured with her tail. I was lucky to find water that close, so I haven't had to trek all the way down to the lake. Show me, meowed Leafpaw. Mothwing led her out of the clearing until they came to the edge of the marsh. She padded confidently across the boggy ground, leaping between tussocks of stretchy grass when the bits between... She padded confidently across the boggy ground, leaping between tussocks of scratchy grass when the bits in between got too muddy even for a RiverClan cat's paws. They were traveling level with the lakeshore, but further from the water. Eventually, Mothwing stopped beside a small, stagnant pool fed by a stream that trickled through the long marsh grass towards the lake. Even before she reached the water, Leafpaw recognized the same sour taste in the air. She crept forward cautiously to look down into the pool. The water was black and still, but Leafpaw leaned over until her reflection blocked the light and she could see all the way to the bottom. Narrowing her eyes, she spotted a mass of sodden dark fur lying... What? Narrowing her eyes, she spotted a mass of sodden dark fur laying on the peaty soil. It looked as if a rabbit had fallen into the pool and drowned. Letting out a hiss of disgust, she pulled it back. Look, she meowed to Mothwing, moving so that the RiverClan cat could crouch next to her. Mothwing's eyes widened. The pool's reflecting the sky when I came here before, she murmured. I never saw the dead rabbit, and I can't smell anything but that wretched mouse bile. Do you think the elders will be okay? She asked worriedly. Leafpaw opened her mouth to tell her that the water might give them a bellyache, but when she met her friend's anxious gaze, she couldn't do it. I'm sure they'll be fine, she mewed awkwardly. After all, if the water was tainted, there was nothing Mothwing could do about it now. Best not give them any more of it, though. No, I won't. Mothwing's tail lashed in annoyance. Now I've got to go all the way down to a lake. See you next gathering, Leafpaw. I hope so, Leafpaw called as her friend bounded down the slope. Wash your paws, she added, though she was not sure Mothwing heard her. She stepped away from the water and rubbed her paws carefully on the grass in case any of the poison had soaked into the ground around the pool. A little ways off, far enough that its roots would be safe from the tainted water, she spotted a thick clump of horsetail. She would be able to pick some for Cinderpelt, and then they could leave. Everything will be fine once we're in our new territory, she told herself. She glanced after Mothwing, and a tremor of anxiety rippled through her fur. The RiverClan medicine cat had meant well when she fetched the water from the pool for the kits and elders, but what would the tainted water do to the cats who had drunk it? Well, they're all going to get sick. She fed every single elder and kit in every clan except ThunderClan. That's sad. I'm surprised she couldn't, taste it as well as smell it. But I guess smell is mostly taste. Your taste is mostly all that you smell. Chapter 9. Let me eat my cookie. Oh. Uh-huh. The piece was too big. I put too big of a piece in my mouth. I also need to get more juice. The chapters are so much shorter now. Before they were so long, and now they're like extremely short. Or like, I guess maybe not short, but like normal sized chapters. Also, good news, everybody. The Pop Cup should get an upgrade next time I stream, probably. I'm just waiting for one more edit. Hi, Jacob. How are you? You managed to catch me when I was in between chapters. Usually I'm reading. I'm good. How are you? I need to get some juice. Should I get iced tea or should I get some cranberry juice? You're also good. Good. Tea. All right. I'll get some tea. I'll be right back real quick and then we'll continue. Wait, yes? You said my name. Yeah, I'm No. Jacob. That's me. I am No. Ooh. Have you seen the FNAF movie yet? I have not. I have not seen it yet. I'll probably not see it in theaters either. I'll probably see it when it comes out on the internet. Have you seen it? Is it good? I've heard it's actually good. I'll be right back though, okay? Tea time. Ooh, you have! Cool! Whoa. I got a carrot. Wait, it's already streaming? Really? Then why were you on Peacock? Peacock. Nom. Sorry, PG. Huff. I gotta eat, you know? It's important. It's a reminder that everybody also has to eat. No, that's me. Yeah? Bamstar! Take this. Ah. Thank you for the follow! Welcome to the popcorn bucket! Hi! Now you are one of us. One of us. One of us. Carrot. Do you ever think about like time travel? And like, oh, warriors with the classic no noise. Wait, with the classic no noise? Like noise like nice or no noise? I finished watching this Netflix show called... Wait, I won't tell you. But I finished watching a Netflix show and it was about time travel. And the end was kind of like, once they solved everything, the people who were involved couldn't remember that they were involved at all because it had been solved, right? So nobody knew that it had happened because it didn't happen because they fixed it. And then it got me thinking, what if time travel does exist, but then we can't fix it? Like, I mean, like, we won't remember it because everything's been fixed, you know?
It never happened.
It's like it happened, but it never happened. It happened in a point in time, but that time has now expired. Assuming that time didn't split off in another timeline. Thank you for the refund, Bam! Here we go, 4 months being a pop cup. Wow, super cool times. Can't wait until we get the double digits on the month. Yeah! Gamer! You are a gamer, Peachy. Thank you, Bim. Look, did you see the new badges? You've got a little ruffle. You got a ruffle now and a hat. All right, let's continue. We have to get through another 40 pages before we can end the stream today. Brambleclaw slipped through the trees, jaws parted to distinguish ThunderClan's scent from among the mingled cat scents that hovered in the air. It wasn't easy. They had traveled together for so long that the cat clans no longer kept their separate, distinctive scents. Cats were darting everywhere, trying to say goodbye to friends and other clans. There was so much activity, so much tension crackling between different cats that Brambleclaw could almost imagine he was in the thick of a battle. Except in this battle there were no enemies. Already it was sun-high, and Firestar was eager to set out for the new territory. He had sent Brambleclaw to make sure no cat was left behind when they set out for their new home. Brambleclaw spotted Mousefur saying goodbye to Heavystep from RiverClan. The ThunderClan warrior looked thin and tired. Perhaps when they had reached their new camp, it would be time for her to join the elders. Hi, Mousefur, he meowed. Firestar would like us all together near the stump now. He carefully avoided giving her a direct order. Mousefur had a short temper, and he didn't want his tail snapped off. Okay, I'm coming. Mousefur gave Heavystep's ear a quick lick. Go safely, she told him. I'll see you at the gathering.
Goodbye, Mousefur.
Heavystep watched her go before nodding to Brambleclaw and slipping into the trees where RiverClan was gathering. Brambleclaw almost ran into Squirrelflight, who skidded around a trunk of a tree right under his paws. Hi, I was looking for you, she panted. Come with me. She doubled back and led him down into a small hollow where Tawnypelt and Crowfeather were waiting. We have to say goodbye properly, she meowed. This is the end of our journey. Now the clans are separating. A thorn of sorrow pierced Brambleclaw's heart. Squirrelflight was right. Their quest was at an end. They had faced danger side by side, and somewhere amid the fear, the darkness, and the desperate race to save their clanmates, they had found true friendship. But their first loyalty had to be to their clans. It seemed like 9 lifetimes ago that they had first left the forest, and sometimes it was even hard to remember how strong their friendship had been back on the long journey to the Sundrown place. Brambleclaw looked at Squirrelflight and wondered if she would still trust him with her life. He padded over to Crowfeather and Tawnypelt and touched noses with them. Gazing into their eyes, he saw memories swimming there like fish. We'll never forget what we did, Tawnypelt murmured. We'll be stronger all our lives for it. All 4 cats stood in silence until Crowfeather mewed somberly. We should be 6. Brambleclaw flinched as he thought of the 2 cats who would never return to their clan. Feathertail, who had selflessly given her life, and Stormfur, left behind with the tribe of Rushing Water. We are 6, Squirrelflight mewed softly. They'll always be with us as long as we remember them. Crowfeather's gaze was fixed on the far distance. In a voice almost too low to hear, he murmured, Sometimes remembering's not enough. Tawnypelt gave herself a shake. Well, this won't catch any prey, she meowed. I'd best be off. See you all at the gathering. She turned and bounded away, and the others called goodbyes after her. Crowfeather dipped his head. May you travel safely, he mewed, beginning to back away. We'll be traveling together for a while, Brambleclaw pointed out. We have to cross your territory to reach ours. But we must keep with our own clans now. Crowfeather turned and disappeared over the top of the hollow. Brambleclaw stared after him, wishing there was something he could do about Crowfeather's stubborn belief that he had to do everything alone. His grief for Feathertail seemed to have convinced him that friendship brought nothing but pain. Squirrelflight brushed her ear with her tail tip. Come on, Firestar will be looking for us. On their way back to the clearing, they caught up with Mousefur's apprentice, Spiderpaw, who was saying goodbye to a couple of RiverClan apprentices. Squirrelflight gave him a friendly cuff around the ear and told him to come with them before he got left behind. When they reached the stump, they found the rest of ThunderClan sitting in small groups, waiting to leave. Dustbelt was trying to check that every cat was there. Brambleclaw and Squirrelflight are missing, he meowed irritably to Firestar as Brambleclaw came within earshot. And Spiderpaw, oh, there you are, he added as he spotted them. Right, Firestar, that's every cat. Good, meowed Firestar. He leapt onto the tree stump where Blackstar was already waiting. Leopardstar joined them within a moment later, and One Whisker raced across from WindClan and sat below them among the roots. There was only room for 3 cats to stand on the stump, but Brambleclaw noticed Mudclaw give a tiny satisfied nod, as if he was pleased One Whisker hadn't been able to stand with the other leaders. A chill ran through his fur. This was not the start WindClan needed for their new life beside the lake. The rest of the cats stirred restlessly, and 1 or 2 stood up and clawed the ground. They were too excited at the prospect of finding their new homes to sit quietly and listen to their leaders. The 4 of us have been discussing possible boundaries, Blackstar began, and we will need to tell you what we have decided. Brambleclaw's ears prickled. Wasn't it rather early to settle this? After all, his patrol hadn't had the chance to explore every paw step of the new territories. But maybe it was better to prepare the cats for the extent of each territory, to avoid one clan claiming more than their share. Tawnypelt reported a small thunderpath running alongside the pine woods, Blackstar went on. Shadow Clan will take that for its boundary with River Clan. Further around the lake, the clearing where the stream runs through the middle can be the boundary with Thunder Clan. We don't know how far upstream that clearing goes, Tawnypelt reminded him from where she sat among her clanmates. We'll need to mark the boundary through the trees as well. Blackstar nodded. We'll check that out as soon as we arrive. Then ThunderClan's territory will begin at the clearing, Firestar meowed, and Brambleclaw says there's a stream on the other side of the woods, at the foot of the ridge of the hills, that might make a good boundary with WindClan. RiverClan's territory will be here at the horse place, Leopardstar spoke up, and stretch as far as the Thunderpath at the edge of the pine woods. Then WindClan territory will be from the horse place to the stream that Firestar mentioned, Onewhisker meowed. Brambleclaw caught Tawnypelt's eyes across the clearing and nodded. That sounded fair. Each clan would have a good stretch of territory with access to the lake and plenty of space for hunting the prey that they were most used to. This is only a rough idea, Firestar warned. We need to get to know the territory better before we put down our scent markers. We'll announce the exact boundaries at the next gathering. Let's try to do it without fighting. Oh, sorry, this was not Blackstar. Now let's try to do it without fighting, Barkface called out. Before you claw some warrior's ears off, kindly remember that we medicine cats haven't had time to build up our stores of herbs yet. A ripple of amusement passed through the cats, and Brambleclaw spotted more than one warrior nodding in agreement. But it wasn't the threat of low supply of herbs that made the fighting seem wrong. Much more than that, it would feel strange to fight cats who had struggled side by side to survive the destruction of the forest and the long journey through the mountains. Let's get going, Firestar urged, and may StarClan be with us all. He jumped down and padded over to the ThunderClan cats, his tail sticking straight up in the air with barely restrained excitement. Brambleclaw, Squirrelflight, you'd better lead, as you know the way. Brambleclaw dipped his head and went to the front of the clan. This felt right. After all, he had brought them this far. His clanmates should know how much he had done for them, to find their new home. And maybe, just maybe, Firestar would realize that he deserved to be made deputy. As they began to make their way through the trees, Onewhisker hailed them, bounding over with his clan behind him. I thought we'd travel together for a while, he meowed to Firestar. We're going in the same direction. Firestar nodded. Good idea. As they continued, Brambleclaw noticed that Crowfeather was among the cats at the front of his clan, but the young warrior didn't even glance sideways at Brambleclaw. Instead, he kept his gaze fixed straight ahead, padding determinedly down towards the shore of the lake, where they would pick up a trail that led to the ridge of hills. Just behind him, Brambleclaw saw Mudclaw scowling at Onewhisker, but it was impossible to tell whether his hostility came from simple envy or because he didn't want to travel with ThunderClan. A little ways off, RiverClan and ShadowClan were headed slantwise across the slope in the opposite direction. Narrowing his eyes, Brambleclaw recognized Hawkfrost at the edge of his clanmates. At the exact same instant, he turned and met Brambleclaw's gaze. Murmuring something to the warrior beside him, he bounded away from his clan and came over. Brambleclaw. Hawkfrost dipped his head in the formal greeting, but his icy blue eyes were friendly. Good luck in your new territory. May StarClan be with you. And with you, Brambleclaw responded. I'm looking forward to meeting you again at gatherings, Hawkfrost added. His eyes searched Brambleclaw's as if there were more that he wanted to say, but a yowl from his clanmates made him jerk his head around. The two clans had almost reached the shore of the lake, and if he wasn't careful, he would have to have a long run to catch up. I have to go, he meowed to Brambleclaw. Until the gathering, then. He blinked, then whipped around and raced back to his clan. Until the gathering, Brambleclaw called after him, and his heart twisted with regret that the opportunity to know his half-brother was gone. Half-brother Better was gone. Do you think we can get a move on? Squirrelflight complained. Or are you planning to stand and gossip all day? He was only trying to be friendly, Brambleclaw retorted angrily. Friendly? Squirrelflight hissed, her eyes stretched wide with disbelief. We can do without his friendship. Look at the way he tried to grab the island for RiverClan's camp. He wasn't trying to grab the island. No other clan can use it. He was only trying to do his best for RiverClan. If you believe that, you'll believe anything. Squirrelflight whisked around with her tail in the air and stalked off. As Brambleclaw followed her, he could see tension prickling in every hair on her pelt. His belly clenched with pain. Of all the friendships he had made on the long journey, surely this one should have survived the separation of the clans. Instead, it had vanished as quickly as dew in morning sunlight, because Squirrelflight couldn't bear to see him with his half-brother. And if she thought he would rather be friends with Hawkfrost than with her, she was wrong. It was Squirrelflight that Brambleclaw wanted, and he missed her so much that it took his breath away. ThunderClan and WindClan followed the edge of the lake, slipping quietly past the fence of the horse place and then climbing the hill a little ways away so they could look down on the shining expanse of water. On the shore near the island, Brambleclaw could just make out two groups of tiny dots moving slowly, ShadowClan and RiverClan, headed for their own new territories. At the distance, he could not distinguish individual cats, but he knew that his sister, his half-brother, and his half-sister, Mothwing, would be among them, and whatever trouble Hawkfrost had caused between him and Squirrelflight, he wished them well. The cats padded across the hillside together until they reached a narrow fold in the hill with rocks jutting out from the tough grass and a trickle of water along the bottom. One Whisker stopped and gathered his clan around him with a wave of his tail. "We'll leave you here," he meowed to Firestar. "This should lead up to the ridge where Crowfeather found our camp." Dipping his head, he added, "Our thanks go with you in your new home. Without you, WindClan would never have seen these hills." Brambleclaw heard a suppressed hiss from among the WindClan warriors. He couldn't see which cat it came from, but he didn't need to. Mudclaw would be the first to resent any suggestion that WindClan owed thanks to ThunderClan. "Hi, Pride! Thank you for the quassel! And thank you for the lurk!" Firestar swept his tail lightly across One Whisker's shoulder. "Go well. StarClan has found a good home for us all." Lowering his voice, he added, "If there's any trouble, let me know. ThunderClan will be glad to help." Brambleclaw wasn't sure he had been meant to hear that, and as he drew away in case Firestar realized he was aware of the ThunderClan leader's promise, he drew away. Brambleclaw's fur prickled. Surely it was a bad idea for One Whisker to rely on the leader of another clan for support. And not just that, One Whisker knew that Firestar and Brambleclaw were the only other cats who knew what Telstar had said and not said when appointing his new deputy. He was relying on them to keep his secret, or to be loyal to him beyond the demands of the warrior code, and support his leadership even though it might not be approved by StarClan. The two leaders made their farewells, echoed by the other cats in both clans, as WindClan began the steep climb up the ravine. The ThunderClan cat stood watching them for a while. Brambleclaw noticed Leafpaw, a bunch of herbs in her jaws, looking after the departing clan with her head tipped questioningly. Uh-oh! Hold on. No, our fire alarm. I thought it was my fire alarm. Our fire alarm is so sensitive in this condo that when we take things out of the oven, it goes off sometimes, which is bonkers. I don't know how to like fix that, or like we don't know what to do. Oh yeah, I know how that goes. Is there any way to like stop it or what? You just have to deal with it? Let me eat this carrot. Mm-hmm. Get a new one. I guess so, huh? All right. Now that everything is fine, like put the one that came with the condo somewhere safe, and then when you move out, put it back. That's smart, actually. Maybe we'll have to do that. We just have to make sure we don't get one that's like equally or more sensitive. Where were we? I don't know if there even is like a sensitivity thing that you can tamper with. I don't know. Guess we could find out. Google it. We were watching Wayne Clan before I could ask Fire. Oh. He wondered if something was worrying her. Oh, Leafpaw. The ThunderClan cat stood watching them for a while. Brambleclaw noticed Leafpaw, a bunch of herbs in her jaws, looking after the departing clan with her head tipped questioningly to one side. He wondered if something was worrying her. Perhaps StarClan had warned her of trouble on the way for WindClan, but before he could ask, Firestar called his clan together. Somehow, now that ThunderClan was on their own, the lake and the land around it seemed to stretch further than before, even more unknown and more threatening. Brambleclaw was acutely aware of every rock or bush that might hide an enemy. His pelt bristled. It was strange that he hadn't felt this sense of danger on the patrol, but apart from Mistyfoot, he had faced many dangers with those cats beside him, and he could trust them to look out for themselves as well as one another. Now he had to worry for the safety of his whole clan, who were less practiced at traveling through unfamiliar territory. Firestar obviously shared his misgivings. Every cat stay alert, he called, and added more quietly, Break-In for her Dustpelt, keep guard on the side nearest to the lake. Cloudtail and Brightheart, you take the other side. Sandstorm and Sorreltail, stay at the back and make sure no cat falls behind. The warriors took up their positions and the cat clan moved on. Their the cheerful meows and joking died away, and the cats padded on in silence, their eyes wide and watchful. The cold gray light was beginning to fade when they came to a stream at the foot of a gentle slope. On the other side was the wood where Squirrelflight had discovered the stone hollow. Brambleclaw's ears twitched uncomfortably as he wondered what his clanmates would think of their new home. We crossed the stream before, Squirrelflight muttered as they paused on the bank. Once we're on the other side, we're really in ThunderClan's territory. If we decided to make this our boundary, Brambleclaw reminded her, it's not decided yet. The stream was too wide to leap, and the cats hesitated on the bank, looking for stepping stones or tree branches that might help them cross. As the last of the light died, turning the woods ahead to a rustling mass of shadows, Brambleclaw sensed his clanmate's anxiety rising. Fernclad curled her tail around Birchkit's shoulder to keep him away from the water, and even the apprentices looked scared. What about Longtail? Mousefur called out. How do you expect him to get across here? Mouse dung, Squirrelflight muttered crossly.
Better climb the hill to the place we crossed before. It was easier further up. No, hang on, brambleclaw meowed. They didn't have time for that, not if they wanted to reach the stone hollow before dark. The water doesn't look deep. Let's see if we can wade across. He dipped one paw in the water, shivering at its icy touch, then stepped out into the current. The pebble bottom shelved gently, and he found that even at the deepest place, the water didn't lap much higher than his belly fur. Come on, he called as he leaped out of the opposite side of the bank, shaking each leg in turn to get rid of the water. It's easy. A couple of yowls of protest rose from the other bank. If you think we're getting wet, you've got bees in your brain, Mousefur called across to him. Brambleclaw sighed. It would take far longer to climb the hill to the stepping stones, and if the clan had to blunder around in the dark looking for their new camp, then the chances were that some cats would discover it the same way Squirrelflight had, by falling over the edge of the cliff. To his relief, he saw Firestar beckoning his clan with his tail. Come on, he meowed impatiently. We've come all this way. We're not going to let a stream stop us now, are we? One by one, the clan began to cross. Cloudtail and Sandstorm went first, wading slowly through the waters with their tails washed sideways by the current. Dustpelt carried Birchkit across next, his head tipped back to save the kit from getting too wet. And behind him, Rakenfur and Sorreltail guided Longtail. Squirrelflight finally persuaded Mousefur into the water by promising soon she'd be in a warm den on the bed of dry moss. The older warrior grumbled every paw step of the way until she pulled herself out on the other side and glared at Brambleclaw as she shook herself dry. Behind her, Squirrelflight rolled her eyes, as if she wasn't looking forward to collecting all the moss she promised on the other side of the stream. Firestar crossed last. Right, he meowed as he joined Brambleclaw on the bank. Where's this camp? Brambleclaw exchanged a glance with Squirrelflight. They hadn't approached the hollow from this direction, and in the gathering darkness, everything looked different. Squirrelflight was obviously no more certain than he was. She looked blankly back at him and gave the tiniest shake of her head. Brambleclaw tasted the air, trying to judge their position from the stream and the slope on the hill. It's this way, he meowed at last, hoping he sounded more confident than he felt. The clan followed him into the trees. Brambleclaw veered in front of his clanmates to walk beside Squirrelflight. What if we can't find it? He mewed quietly. Squirrelflight's green eyes glinted in the darkness as she turned to look at him. Then we'll have a lot of furious cats on our tails. Stop worrying, she added. It's around here somewhere. We found it even though we weren't looking for it before, remember? Brambleclaw didn't tell her that that was precisely what he was afraid of, that they would find the hollow the only when a cat fell into it. He suddenly felt very small and vulnerable as he padded through the dead leaves, with smooth gray trunks rising up on every side. Even if we find the hollow, will the others think it's good? He wondered desperately. He was just beginning to hear an uneasy muttering from the other cats, who must have realized they weren't following a direct route, when he saw Squirrelflight's ears prick up. Look, she meowed. That gap between the trees over there, with the clump of dead bracken. I've seen that before. Are you sure? Brambleclaw asked, but Squirrelflight was already racing ahead. He followed her into a small clearing and skidded to a halt in front of the tangle of thorns where Squirrelflight had disappeared when she first found the stored stone hollow. She was standing in the middle of the clearing, her eyes shining. This is it! She yelled triumphantly. Spinning around, she called to the rest of the clan. Come on, we're here! Spiderpaw let out a screech of excitement. He broke away from the rest of the clan and dashed forward, straight into the brambles. Brambleclaw stared in horror. They had found the hollow again, but that wasn't the way in! Come back! Mousefur called after her apprentice. There was no reply. Brambleclaw caught a glimpse of his long black tail waving among the thorns and sprang forward, but Squirrelflight was faster. Yowling, no! She burrowed among the thorns after Spiderpaw. Brambleclaw slid underneath the branches and found them on the very edge of the cliff. Squirrelflight had pinned Spiderpaw down with a paw on his neck, her flanks heaving with effort. Beneath her, the apprentice peered over the sheer rock wall, his eyes bulging. Stupid furball! Squirrelflight exclaimed. Do you want a broken neck? Sorry, Spiderpaw mumbled. You said we were here, so I thought... Squirrelflight batted him across the ear with one paw, her claws sheathed. Get back to the others, she rasped. Maybe you should try thinking less and listening more next time.
Brambleclaw almost snorted out loud, hearing Squirrelflight give the same advice she'd heard so many times. He waited until they had crawled away from the cliff before following them out of the brambles. "What's going on?" Ferncloud, Spiderpaw's mother, demanded as they came into the clearing. "Is there something dangerous in those bushes? Why didn't you warn us before?" Unease, sharp as a claw, ranked down Brambleclaw's spine. "We've found the camp," he meowed. "It's in a hollow on the other side of those brambles." Hastily, he added, "It's not dangerous once you know where the edge is. Come on and see. Come and see. Not that way," he growled as Whitepaw bounded curiously over to the thorns. He and Squirrelflight led the other cats down the slope, weaving between brambles and hazel trees until they reached the gap in the clearing, gap in a circle of stone. Brambleclaw nervously watched his clanmates as they filed in and stood looking around at the towering walls. The sky was almost completely dark now, with clouds covering the half moon, and Brambleclaw had to admit the hollow looked dark and uninviting. There seemed to be more brambles and thorn bushes than he remembered, making it feel cramped and overgrown. Some of the undergrowth would be useful for shelter, but the rest would have to be cleared. Mousefur was the first to speak. "This isn't a camp! Where are the dens? There's not enough space for a snake to sun itself here." "Hey!" Squirrelflight protested. "You didn't think Starkland would have it all ready for us, did you? I know there's a lot of work to do, but think how easy it'll be to defend, surrounded by these cliffs." "I think it looks great," Thornclaw meowed. "We'll soon sort out proper dens and somewhere for the nursery." "I want to explore," Whitepaw exclaimed, bouncing on her paws. "Can we break in fur, please?" Her mentor gave her a gentle nudge. "Wait until tomorrow, when it's light." Goldenflower was standing beside Longtail, her tail curled across his shoulders. "It's a huge clearing with stone walls," she mewed softly. "It's quite dark, but I think the walls are covered with ferns and moss. Can you hear that trickle of water? It sounds more like rain draining off the rock than a proper stream. The hollow is full of brambles and thorn thickets, but there's plenty of space for the clan." "Aw, it's so sweet." "Then Starkland must have brought us to an excellent place," Longtail meowed. "I can easily imagine us building our camp here." "Aw, Longtail." Their optimism cheered Brambleclaw up, even though not all the cats shared it. Ferncloud was looking around doubtfully, and Sootfur was sniffing the air with an irritable look, as if he expected prey to leap into his paws. Mousefur snorted. "These bushes will be cold and wet and full of ticks. I shouldn't wonder." Squirrelflight's eyes narrowed, but before she could make a stinging retort, Sandstorm flicked her warningly on the ears with her tail. Come on, it's got a lot going for it." "Those walls will shelter us from bad weather, and like you said, Squirrelflight, it should be easy to defend." "We'll have to do something about that, though." Dustpelt nodded his head towards the entrance. "The whole of ShadowClan could be through there in a couple of heartbeats." Even though Brambleclaw had thought the exact same thing when he first saw the hollow, he couldn't help feeling annoyed. Did his clanmates expect the camp to be perfect from the first moment they set paw inside it? "It's too late to do anything tonight," Firestar meowed, "and far too dark. But you're right. It looks a likely place for a camp," he added to Brambleclaw. "We can make up our minds for sure when we see it in daylight. Dustpelt, Thornclaw, could you check that we're not sharing the place with any foxes or badgers? The rest of us can start finding places to sleep." The two warriors peeled off from the groups and began to circle the hollow in opposite directions, scenting the air every paw step and peering into the clefts of the rock and under the bushes. Feeling as if he couldn't walk another step, Brambleclaw watched until they were swallowed by the shadows of the foot of the cliff. "What about fresh kill?" Rainwhisker asked. "Do we have to go to sleep hungry?" One or two voices were raised in agreement, and Brambleclaw felt his neck fur begin to rise. "It's not long ago we went to sleep hungry every night," Squirrelflight muttered into his ears. She sounded as disappointed as he was with their clanmates' reaction to the hollow. Why are they complaining so much? "We've all been fed very well since we reached the lake," Brambleclaw reminded her. "Our bellies are used to being full again, but it won't do any cat harm to wait until morning to eat." We'll send out patrols at dawn, Firestar promised his clan. There were some mutterings at that, but gradually it died away, and the group began to split up as cats looked for a sleeping place. Brambleclaw, do you know if there's a sheltered place for Birchkit? Ferncloud asked anxiously. I'm afraid he'll come down with white cough if he doesn't have somewhere warm to sleep. I don't know, Brambleclaw admitted, but I'll help you look. There are brambles near the wall just a bit further up. And what about some moss for bedding? Mousefur broke in. Are we expected to sleep on bare earth? Squirrelflight said there would be a warm den waiting for me once I crossed that wretched stream. I can't do everything, Brambleclaw snapped, his patience giving way. You'll have to do the best you can for tonight. Mousefur curled her lip and turned away, with her shoulders hunched. Brambleclaw felt his fur prickle and looked up to see Firestar watching him. The clan leader's eyes were expressionless, but Brambleclaw knew that if he wanted to be clan deputy, losing his temper with one of the older warriors wasn't the best way about going about it. Sorry, he mumbled, padding after Mousefur. I'll come and help when I've settled Ferncloud, okay? No, I'll do it. Brackenford came over and pressed his muzzle against Mousefur's shoulder. Don't take it out on Brambleclaw, he told her. He's doing his best. Mousefur sniffed. His best is pretty poor, then. You'll feel better when you've had a good sleep, Brackenford promised. Come on, let's take a look among the ferns over there. With a sympathetic glance at Brambleclaw, he headed for the rock wall. Mousefur followed him, her tail trailing over the damp grass. Brambleclaw felt a stab of pity for her. The elderly warrior wasn't usually this difficult. She must be exhausted from the journey and as scared as any of them about finding a new home. As he helped Ferncloud look for a nest for her kit, he thought about the way Brackenfur had dealt with Mousefur. The ginger warrior had been good-humored and calm in spite of her ill temper, showing his moons of experience in caring for his clanmates. Didn't that mean he deserved to be deputy more than Brambleclaw? Brambleclaw curled his tail in discomfort. Not just Brackenfur. Several other cats had been warriors for longer than him, like Dustpelt and Cloudtail. But that wasn't the only reason Brambleclaw might never become deputy. He carried a burden that no other ThunderClan warrior shared, Tigerstar. When they were leaving the forest, Firestar had declared that all Tigerstar's children had earned their places within their clans. He had been trying to persuade Hawkfrost and Mouthwing to stay in RiverClan rather than leave with Sasha, their rogue mother, but Brambleclaw knew he had been thinking of Brambleclaw and Tawnypelt too. Even so, no cat could forget the degree of hostility between Firestar and Tigerstar that almost had destroyed every clan in the forest with the heat of its flame, and Brambleclaw doubted that his leader would ever be able to look at him and not see the ghost of his old enemy patting at his shoulder. By the time he had found a place for Ferncloud and Birchkit among the brambles and scraped up some dead bracken to make a nest, most of the other cats had found sleeping places. Instinctively, he looked around for Squirrelflight, spotting her among a patch of ferns with some of the younger warriors. Brambleclaw called her name, but if she heard him, she didn't reply. Instead, she curled up beside Ashfur, her dark ginger fur mingling with his gray pelt. Brambleclaw took a step towards her, then turned away. If she was waiting for him to apologize for speaking to Hawkfrost, she would have to wait a very long time. Looking for a sheltered spot of his own, he passed his mother, Goldenflower, who had just settled Longtail into a nest of dried bracken. It looked as if the tabby warrior was asleep already, his sightless eyes tightly shut and his tail curled over his nose. Cheer up, Goldenflower meowed. Everything's gonna be fine. I know it is. Brambleclaw slumped down beside her. He was too tired to pretend this is how he wanted the clan to arrive in their new home. It wouldn't hurt for every cat to be a bit more enthusiastic, he complained. Goldenflower pressed her muzzle against his flank and let out an affectionate purr. We're exhausted. What do you expect? Every cat knows how much we owe to you. If we'd stayed in the forest, we would be dead by now. Instead, you brought us here. We're safe. I know, but... So the journey's end isn't quite what you hoped for. Right now, I can't see that matters. She drew her tongue over his ears in a brisk lick. For a moment, Brambleclaw felt like a kid again and wished himself back in the nursery with Tawnypelt beside him and nothing more urgent to worry about than their next feed or whether it was warm enough to play outside. Get some sleep, his mother told him, moving away and breaking the illusion. Everything will look better in the morning. Chapter 10. Little sippy. Check my Discord messagey as. Chapter 10! Leafpaw and Cinderpelt had found a rocky overhang at the back of the stone hollow. This won't do permanently, Cinderpelt warned. We need a proper cave with walls to store our supplies, like the one we had in the forest, but it'll be okay for tonight. Leafpaw crept in after her mentor and found a dry place at the back for the horsetail stems she had carried from the marsh. Abaddon! Hi! Thank you for the raid! Toll Project! Yo! I like it when my followers raid me because then they're like, their pop cup comes up and flies in the middle of the screen right where my face is and I can bite them. Oh my gosh, look at how cute your emotes are. Oh my god, the little sleepy one, so cute. I saw your model, Abaddon. It's so cute. I think I actually saw, what's even funnier is I saw it while you were streaming and then I followed the Live 2D tag on Reddit, and your artist put up commission posts, like saying that they were open for commissions, and they had your model as an example. And I was like, oh my god, that's Abaddon's model. It was so wild. I hope you had a wonderful stream. Perfect cherry blossoms, mayhaps. I've never played Touhou Project, but it looks cool. It's like based off Undertale, right? Or not based off Undertale. Undertale was based off of some of Touhou Project. Because it was an inspiration. Yes, Touhou Project was based off of Undertale. Years before Undertale was even born. It's time loops, baby. My bad. Undertale is just that powerful. It's true. Okay, let us continue. Thank you for the raid, and everybody who's, if you need a break, then please do so. Go have some water. Go have a stretch. Very important. Stretch your eyeballs too. Did you know you should do that? Okay, here's a new technique. Stretch your eyeballs. What you do is you focus on something far away, and then you focus on something close, and then you focus on that far away thing again, and then you focus on the close thing. So you're switching between going far away and close. And that's how you stretch your eyeballs. It's good. It's healthy. All right. Let us continue. Leafpaw knew she wouldn't be able to close her eyes until she asked the question that ran icy claws along her spine. Cinderpelt, do you think this is the right place for us? She mewed bravely. Is this really where StarClan meant us to be? Cinderpelt yawned. We'll know that when StarClan's ready to tell us. Now stop worrying and go to sleep. She pushed her nose further into her tail, and her breathing became slow even as she drifted off. Leafpaw did not find sleep so easy to come by. She sat beneath the overhang with her paws tucked under her, gazing into the shadow-filled hollow. StarClan, where are you? She begged silently. But only one or two lonely stars glimmered from the cloudy sky, and Leafpaw felt as if her warrior ancestors were too far away to be able to watch her and her clan tonight. She must have dozed off at last, because she opened her eyes to find she was dreaming. She was standing on a dark sweep of hillside, looking down at the glitter of Silverpelt reflected in the shiny black lake. The island should have been a thicker patch of shadow against the water, but instead it shone with moonlight. Each tree picked out in a shaft of silver. Leafpaw felt as if the place were calling to her, as if there were more she needed to learn about it. But we can't go there, she reminded herself. Not every cat can swim like RiverClan. A breeze picked up, whispering over the star-filled lake and ruffling Leafpaw's fur. She felt a surge of hope run through her, even though the voices of her warrior ancestors remained silent. But Leafpaw was not afraid. They had been silent before on their long journey through the mountains, and she had learned that sometimes the only thing a cat could rely on was the strength that lay within. Everything would be all right if she and the others made it so. They would make their camp here. They would explore every part of the woods until they knew the good places for prey, for water, and bedding, the spots where each healing herb grew, and the places where they could play and relax in the sun. It seemed strange and daunting now, but eventually it would be their home. Paw step by paw step, they would make it happen. As she stood gazing down at the lake, Leafpaw realized that the surface of the water was changing. The glitter of starlight faded and the water turned steadily redder until waves of scarlet lapped against the shore. Leafpaw looked up in surprise. The sky was dark as before, so this couldn't be a reflection of the sunrise. The water seemed thick and slow-moving, surging lazily over the pebbles, and in that instant, Leafpaw knew that it wasn't water at all. The lake was filled with blood, fed by streams that ran like gaping wounds. Another gust of wind buffeted Leafpaw's fur, hot and dusty this time, bringing with it the stench of crow food. Shaking with terror, she heard a voice speak clearly in her mind. "Before there is peace, blood will spill blood, and the lake will run red." "Cinderpelt! Cinderpelt!" Leafpaw woke with a jump. It was still dark. Sorreltail was peering under the rocky overhang, anxiously calling Cinderpelt's name. Somewhere in the hollow, an eerie yowl of a cat in pain tore the quiet of the night. "What is it? What's happening?" Leafpaw asked, scrambling up and prodding Cinderpelt in the flank. "It's Mousefur," mewed Sorreltail. "She says she has a pain in her belly." "I'll come." Cinderpelt meowed, getting to her paws. "If Mousefur has a bellyache, we need water, mint, or juniper berries," Leafpaw told her. "There were masses of them at the other end of the lake. Do you want me to fetch some?" Her mentor looked serious. "It would be better to find a supply nearby, but if we need them before daylight, then you'll have to go back." They followed Sorreltail across the hollow to the clump of ferns where Mousefur had made her nest, stumbling over the stones in the darkness. Leafpaw tasted the air in an attempt to discover if any of the herbs they needed were growing nearby, but it was impossible to make out the special scents among so many and against the overwhelming scent of cats. When she and Cinderpelt reached Mousefur, the brown warrior was lying on her side, her body twisted in pain, her jaws gaping as she let out another anguished yowl. "Mousefur, listen to me." Cinderpelt crouched down beside her. "Do you know what caused this? Have you eaten any crow food?" Mousefur blinked. Eyes glazed with pain. "Crow fur? No," she rasped. "Do you think I'm mouse-brained? My belly—" Her words trailed off in another yowl. A horrible suspicion forced itself into Leafpaw's mind. Beckoning Cinderpelt aside, she murmured, "Mousefur must have drunk some of the water Mothwing had found. I think it might have been tainted. It smelled bad, and when she showed me the pool she got it from, there was a dead rabbit in there." Cinderpelt let out an exasperated sigh, and she didn't think to. "Well, no point going into that. What are we going to do?" Leafpaw asked anxiously. Cinderpelt turned to Sorreltail. "Do you know if any other cat drank the water?" Sorreltail shook her head. "Goldenflower and Longtail might have." Cinderpelt went on. "Check it out, would you, Sorreltail?" The tortoiseshell warrior nodded and vanished into the darkness. "Try to lie still, Mousefur," Cinderpelt urged. "Let me feel your belly." She patted gently with her paw. To Leafpaw, the brown warrior's stomach looked unnaturally distended. Distended?
"Haven't you got some herbs I can take?"
Mousefur fretted. Cinderpelt shook her head.
"Hi, Jarn."
"We haven't had time to look for any yet." Mousefur opened her mouth to say something, then retched and began to vomit. "That could be a good sign," Cinderpelt meowed to Leafpaw. "At least she's trying to get rid of the poison." Leafpaw nodded, feeling utterly helpless. Mousefur was suffering because the medicine cats could do nothing without their stock of herbs. "We'll have to find some more supplies as soon as it's light," she meowed. "Especially wintermint and juniper berries. I'll take some to the other clans in case they drank the water too." Cinderpelt's blue eyes widened in surprise, and Leafpaw winced. She'd become too used to thinking of all 4 clans as one, with shared problems and shared solutions. It seemed natural to help them if she thought their elders might be suffering the same thing as Mousefur. But now that the boundaries between them were reestablished, was she being disloyal to her own clan? We should check on WindClan at least, she added persuasively. Their cats are the weakest, so they'd be the most danger. Cinderpelt nodded. You can go in the morning, but you'd better take a warrior with you. We'll speak to Firestar as soon as we can. Well? She prompted, and Sorreltail reappeared. As Sorreltail reappeared. Goldenflower says she had a bellyache, but she's been sick, and it isn't too bad now. The tortoiseshell warrior reported. Longtail is asleep, and he looks okay, so I didn't wake him. Thanks, meowed Cinderpelt. Longtail's younger, of course, so he should be stronger. I'll have a word with him when he wakes. Mothwing meant to be kind, Leafpaw murmured. She didn't want her friend to get in trouble for not noticing the rabbit at the bottom of the pool. To Leafpaw's relief, Cinderpelt didn't seem to blame Mothwing too much. I know, any cat can make a mistake. Then the medicine cat's eyes darkened and she went on, but Mothwing would be the first to admit she had much less experience than the other medicine cats, and no mentor to guide her now that Mudfur is dead. I hope for RiverClan's sake that she doesn't make this sort of mistake too often. She'll need all the help StarClan can give, that's for sure. Weak after her vomiting, but more comfortable, Mousefur managed to sleep. Sorreltail stayed to keep an eye on her, with instructions from Cinderpelt to fetch her if the pain returned. The sky was already turning gray behind the trees, at the top of the cliff, and though Leafpaw felt exhausted, there was no point in going back to the makeshift den. As soon as the light grew stronger, she and Cinderpelt went to look for Firestar. A wind had sprung up, rattling the leafless branches and tearing the clouds into ragged strips. But the undergrowth sheltered by the ring of stone hardly stirred. A gleam of pale sunlight slanted the hollow, leaving the foot of the cliff in shadows, but striking a gentle warmth into the ferns by the entrance. The cats that hadn't been disturbed by Mousefur's illness awoke to a far different place from the dark and unwelcoming hollow of the night before. Leafpaw heard them call cheerfully to one another, and spotted Birchkin emerging from a bramble thicket to pounce on a dead leaf. The sight of the kit playing just as he had done back in the forest, before the prey vanished and they were dulled by starvation, made Leafpaw's heart lift, and she offered silent thanks to StarClan. She forced the terrifying blood-stained prophecy from her dream to the back of her mind, and told herself that this must be the right place for ThunderClan to settle. They found Firestar in an open space near the center of the hollow. He had already gathered some of his warriors around him. We need to get out there right away and mark our boundaries, Leafpaw heard Dustpelt meow as they approached. If we don't, WindClan and ShadowClan will claim all the woodland and the prey before you say mouse. We need to explore the territory as well, Sandstorm pointed out. For all we know, those woods could be crawling with foxes and badgers. Not to mention hawks, Thornclaw added. Sandstorm murmured agreement. I'll see to the hunting patrols if you like, she meowed to Firestar. The clan leader gave her a grateful nod. Thanks, that would be great. Leafpaw felt a little stab of pride to think that her mother was one of the best hunters in the clan. Dustpelt flicked his ears. I'll take charge of guarding the camp. I don't like the look of that entrance gap. I'll get the apprentices and see what we can do with some thorns. And I'll take care of the boundary patrols, Brambleclaw offered. That's a huge job, Firestar warned, especially as we don't even know where the boundaries are going to be yet. Breakenfur, will you and Brambleclaw do that together? The two warriors nodded. Cloudtail, I want you to take a patrol and work outward from the camp, the clan leader ordered. Report back on anything you think I should know about. It's not just the boundaries we need to think about. I want to know what's inside them, too. Cloudtail agreed with a wave of his tail. What about me? Thornclaw asked. Cinderpelt limped forward. Excuse me, Thornclaw. Firestar, we have a problem. She quickly told him about Mousefur's bellyache. I want to go and find the right herbs, she explained, and then take some to WindClan. All the clans could have drunk the water, but WindClan is weakest, so they're most at risk. Firestar thought for a moment before he replied. His expression was hard to read, and Leafpaw wondered if he was reluctant to spend time and energy helping another clan now that they were establishing their new territories. We can't leave WindClan to suffer if there's something we can do, Cinderpelt urged. All the medicine cats know how to treat bellyaches, Firestar reminded her. But you're right, Cinderpelt. WindClan have been through enough, and it's the kids and elders who suffer. Thornclaw can go with you. Thanks. I'll just check on Mousefur and the others, and then we'll go. Leafpaw followed Cinderpelt back to Mousefur's nest. The brown warrior was asleep, and Sorreltail dozing beside her. Longtail and Goldenflower had joined them. Goldenflower was asleep too, but Longtail raised his head as they approached, and pricked his ears towards them as if he could see as clearly as ever. Hi, Cinderpelt, Leafpaw, he greeted them. Leafpaw knew he had recognized them by their scents, but it didn't stop a thorn-sharp claw of sympathy raking through her. Sorreltail blinked her eyes open and scrambled to her paws. I think everything's okay, she meowed. Mousefur's been asleep ever since you left. Her scent is almost back to normal, Longtail added. Goldenflower's too, but I think she drank less of the water to start with. Cinderpelt bent her head over Mousefur and then Goldenflower, sniffed them, and listened to their breathing. They'll be okay now, she meowed, straightening. You might as well go, Sorreltail. You'll be needed on one of the patrols. Thanks for staying with Mousefur. The young warrior raced off, waving her tail at Leafpaw as she passed. What about you, Longtail? Cinderpelt prompted. Did you have a bellyache as well? A bit, mewed the blind warrior. Sorreltail said it was the water Mothwing gave us. I thought it smelled a bit odd, but when a medicine cat gives it to you... Mistakes happen, Cinderpelt meowed. Leafpaw and I are going to look for herbs to restock our supplies in case any cat showed the same symptoms. Good luck, Longtail meowed. There was a wistful note in his voice, as if he would have liked to come with them to explore the new territory. The medicine cats went back to the center of the camp, where the warriors were dividing up their patrols. Leafpaw spotted Brambleclaw headed purposefully towards Squirrelflight, but before he reached her, Ashfur bounded over. Hey, Squirrelflight, he meowed. Sandstorm says she wants you for the hunting patrol. Sure, Squirrelflight replied. There was a look of mingled frustration and disappointment in Brambleclaw's eyes as he watched her pad away, but he didn't try to stop her. Leafpaw sighed. There was definitely something wrong between the tabby warrior and her sister, though she had no idea what it was. Wake up, Cinderpelt prodded her in the side. Thornclaw's ready. Let's go. Leafpaw's paws tingled with excitement as they headed for the gap in the rock wall. Dustpelt was giving orders to Spiderpaw and Whitepaw about clearing unwanted thorns from the camp to build a barrier. I don't want so much as a mouse to get in and out, he meowed. What, not even cats? Cinderpelt asked cheekily, waving his tail. Dustpelt sighed. We'll leave a tunnel, Mousebrain. Leafpaw pushed her way into a patch of ferns, which looked less prickly than the bramble bushes next to it, and paused in the middle, breathing in the strong green scent around her. On the other side, beyond the gap that led into the stone hollow, the unknown forest lay waiting. No, ThunderClan's new territory lay waiting. Yahoo! Okay, that was okay. We're like 3 pages away from having read 100 pages. So, I guess we could read. It's hard. I'm kind of hungry. I kind of want dinner. Well, let's see. Food is important, you're right. Alright, my little guysies. Let's end it here for now, chapter 11. What are we gonna do soon? Hopefully next stream we'll have the new accessories for the Pop Cubs. And we'll also have... Wait, no, that's it. Hopefully we'll have new accessories for the Pop Cubs. I'm not sure if I'll stream tomorrow, but I'll stream on Friday. Peachy and me are gonna do a collab sometime this week. I don't know which day exactly, but we're gonna do a collab. It's gonna be a horror collab, I think. So we'll probably scream in his ear. And he won't scream at all because he feels no fear. And yeah. Alright. It's only mildly spooky. Says you. Says you. And then we'll play Outer Wilds on whatever days we aren't playing with Peachy. Yeah! Alright, guys. I think Dun is still streaming. I'm not sure. Cordy. Chio! Dun! Fia. Oh, Echo Gummy's playing. Dang, we have so many people we can raid. Lots of good people. Let's raid Gummy, because it's been a while. Gummy, 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 pew, pew. Ooh, Gummy's playing retro. Oh, perfect! Thank you for the hat. Sounds like I got here late. Oh, hi, Energy! Yeah, we're just finishing up now. Stream was nice. Yeah, it was nice and relaxing. Somebody died in the cats, but it was alright. We knew it was coming. Oh, quickly go to the ending stream. Bow! Bow, bow, bow! Make sure that you guys get up, have a stretch, have a nice partay. Have a nice, I don't know, have a nice evening, have a nice day. Get ready, brush your teeth, put on sunscreen, wash your face, have a shower, do all those things. Maybe have a snack, I don't know. Make sure that you do eyeball stretches. Your legs are stuck to the chair. Oh man, that sucks. Stretch your eyeballs instead then. That's good. That's just as good, right? I think that's just as good. I'll see you guys maybe tomorrow, maybe not tomorrow. Friday, yes. Saturday, Sunday, I don't know. But yeah, I'll see you guys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye. Bye-bye, bye-bye. I love you. Bye. Alright, they're gone. Just kidding. There's nothing. Just, oh, okay, we're at the end. Okay, bye-bye.